Morning, everyone. Welcome into Morning Ritual. Um, Welcome to our TTRPG talk show. And Honey's here. Hi, Honey.
Hi.
I'm Anita. This is my channel. We'll start right off with the intros because
Cat
we'll
likes to
give them the
talk shit.
opportunity.
I'm sorry, y'all just came in so nice, like, hey everybody, good morning. I'm just over here with seething rage. But I guess I'm the only one.
As is your bread. Hi, I'm Anita, and this is the Critical Business Channel. So, welcome in, everyone. I can see Faye's in chat, Dectan's in chat, Lydia and Sphinx are in chat, and Lauren is also in chat. Good to see all of you. Yeah, you can find us here for Morning Ritual. Noir, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey everybody, I'm Noir. You can find me on my Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube channel under The Noir Enigma. Oh, actually, I fixed it. So now, even on Instagram, I'm The Noir Enigma.
Hey.
On TikTok, I'm still Noir Enigma because I don't know how to change it. I should probably mention other stuff, but I don't feel like it, and
We
I'll
can
have
do that
to.
on the
I'm
outros.
host.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Honey,
Who's gonna check me, boo?
tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Honey, aka Honey and Dice. You can find me on Twitch at Honey and Dice. You can find me on Twitter at Honey and Dice. You can find me on Instagram at Honey and Dice. There's just nothing there because I don't have time for that, and because I just didn't want anyone to take the name. So it's there, and maybe one day, when the world opens back up again and there's conventions and so on, there'll be content there. But I run games, I write games, I play games, but at the end of the day, I'm really just everyone's biggest cheerleader. And I'm very, very honored, excited, and I was slightly confused, but happy to be invited to join everyone this morning.
Ryan is asking why we're trying to be professional now. The answer is Honey's here and we need to be on our best behavior.
nah, fuck that. Like, so if any of y'all watch Clockwork Vine, you know that the longer I start talking, the more Honey makes this really adorable face that's absolutely done with my bullshit. My goal is to hit that triple digits today. Pretending this ain't no hard suspect. All right.
A little bit.
So, hey, y'all. I should also warn y'all, I'm running on negative sleep. So, this is going to be a fun one today. So, we got a multitude of topics to talk about. The world's on fire. People have figured out how to eat the rich. That's fun.
Chomp chomp.
And also, so what was that?
Chomp chomp.
I don't understand what you're saying to me right now.
No, you said people figured out how to eat the rich, and I just said chomp
Oh,
chomp.
chop chop. How you doing today, honey?
I'm observing Noir in his natural habitat-ish. Just noticing.
This is where he lives. It's true.
Yeah.
What is? Hold on. I'm being psychoanalyzed. So I don't like it. What's the trick?
This is just Nora and I are just in a series of Zoom calls because I'm in this, not only this show but like 3 other shows with him. It just feels like a perpetual Zoom call.
Casting is hard.
It's fair.
Go to the same people. Fuck it. Yes, but everybody is a fan of eating the rich, and now we know how to by supporting GameStop, which I have to tell y'all that physically hurts my body right now that we have to support GameStop. If I can, I'd like to tell you a quick story. I wanted to get a PlayStation 4 not more than 3 weeks ago. Because all of the PlayStation 4s everywhere are gone because resellers suck. So I went to GameStop And I was just like, I would like to trade in my Xbox One for a PlayStation 4, please. And they were like, oh, absolutely. We have one in stock. And I was like, oh, that's fantastic news. This should be a rather simple transaction. And they were just like, all you have to do is purchase this PlayStation 4 bundle where you get an extra controller and 4 games. And I was like, I don't want 4 games. I want 1 game. And I don't need an extra controller because I'm alone. And they were like, too bad. You're gonna pay us $500 for this bundle, and you're gonna get 4 games. And I was just like, all right, well, can I choose what 4 games that I want? And they were like, absolutely, from that rack. And it was just like a rack full of the worst games of all time. Like Kingdom Hearts 3 was there. It was just bad. And it's I said that specifically to make one person mad. And
I haven't played it yet.
It's there you go. It hit. More than one person. Anyway, GameStop likes to pull stuff like that, and so I hate them. And yeah, that's my story.
The answer to what you can get back for your lost stock is about $11.32 in trade-in value.
Look at how salty half the chat is already. Yes, it feeds me. All right, we should talk to our guests. I would just like to leave with this parting shot because I have the microphone and they don't. Kingdom Hearts 2 is an amazing game. Kingdom Hearts 3 makes no fucking sense because there's like Kingdom Hearts does not know how to count to 3. It goes 1, 2, 2.5, 2 in a dream distance, 2 in a blah, 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 blah. And it kept doing that for years and then 3. So no, Kingdom Hearts 3 is garbage because nobody understands the story. All right, so let's get down to TTRPG. It makes it seem more like Honey is the host, just letting Noir, the guest, ramble on about whatever so she can comment on it later. Y'all need to understand, Honey feels like she belongs everywhere she is, and that's why I love her.
Welcome in, Honey. It's actually really good to have you here. I thought that like you being on the show would like bring down Noir to a chill level. We all know that that was a vain hope of mine. Yeah, Honey's just sipping her tea.
Yeah. Nor has made me have to get Southern on a couple of calls, so yeah. Real Southern, go real deep.
I've been told to grab a switch multiple times.
That ship's one shot, the thing that tickled me more than anything was not only me having to put like a YouTube warning on this, but also because it was watching someone play the embodiment of an eldritch horror that was horrified by Noir's character. That was the best part for me. And Cameron Blair, amazing storyteller, amazing role player, and so on. His ability to channel that I'm old as time itself, and I'm this haunted ghost ship, and what is that? Okay, why is that?
I forgot what I played. I played like a sassy submarine or something.
You played the ship transformer embodiment of the Creep song.
Oh, that's right.
Not the good one where people like the good one. The
Saturday Night Live sketch.
Lonely Island one. It was just.
When I was a girl, I creeped in the boys' locker room. I deep inside it was my little creep stalker room.
Yep, just that was the character.
I was watching that one shot like here and there, and I kept catching Noir be just the worst version of himself. And I just kept watching your face fall. Like, I don't know what I expected by bringing him on here.
I don't know how I keep getting invited to shit. I'm like, haven't you seen me? I'm legit the worst.
Well, in
Lies.
Clockwork Vines, like, you play a really interesting character. And in other things, you have played a very interesting character. And I always know the character is going to be interesting.
I can't believe you just called my published author interesting.
Yes, the audience was trying to help kill Nora's character. It's true.
You know, you'd be amazed how many times that happens.
It actually happens more often than you'd think.
I'm great for charities. If you're trying to raise a fund for a cause, you should have me on your game because people will pay good money to see me die.
It was really interesting because I don't like anyone who know that plays in my games. I don't like character death. I don't like to be responsible for character death. Not because I don't think it's a great part of a story, but that's just never the story I'm trying to focus on. So, like, I'm sitting here going, okay, you get the donations will make there'll be another round where this monstrosity gets to attack and we see what happens. But I'm not going to.
You were trying so hard to not kill me. It was precious. I think at one point I put it in the overdrive because I was just like, my blood will spill this day.
Yeah.
So many wounds to the opponents in the wrestling game that we played. Yeah, that's true. When we did our Stampede Wrestling Christmas one-shot seasons beatings, there was, yeah.
So what projects do you have going now? You got anything in the works? Anything you're planning? Anything you want to bring me in on so you can end me, honey?
Clockwork Line Season 2, hopefully we can get things worked out and everyone's schedule is where it needs to be to start in March. Back up in March. I have been playing around with getting the Harlem Unbound one-shot kind of expanded out into a mini campaign to bring those wonderful players back to do something. Because Harlem Unbound is an amazing source book, and I had a lot of fun with turning basically lyrics of a song and the... Anyways, I'm not going to go into the whole but how I come up with plots because it's complicated. But anyways, I really enjoyed that one, using seasonings and flavors as the backbones for creating a storyline. So... yeah, I've been taking it pretty easy. I mean, there was the Die Hard Dice Honey Die release
Yes,
yesterday.
congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's so dope.
I was
How did that
really
come about, if you don't mind my asking? Like, did they reach out to you? Did you reach out to them? Like, I got a cool-ass idea for some dice.
No, I don't ever reach out to people. They just keep asking me for stuff. That was mainly a lot of accidental right timing. Someone was playing around with some dice stuff, and I have a copy of like the original idea of the honey dice because I saw them, and I was like, "Hey, that reminds me so much of honey." And they're like, "Hey, do you want them?" I'm like, "Sure." And then there was a lot of people liked the way they looked, and then when they reached out to me to help with the Dice Affiliates program and so on, they were like, "Hey, I think a really good set of dice would be the honey dice. Would you like to work with us to get those put out?" And I was like, "Sure." And that's what happened. So it's not it's not like a super interesting. I was like, "Hey, look, make me some dice." Like,
Yo,
no,
we
that's
doing this.
I want them to look edible, but not. Like, no, that wasn't what happened.
Oh God, that brings us to the question that I have to ask you, honey. So I'm sure you're aware of this whole Crunch Crew thing,
Mhm.
right? Are you on the side of crunching dice, or are you part of the Stop the Crunch?
Generally speaking, I am against unhygienic actions
Like putting dice in your mouth and then chewing on it.
because of how I was raised. You don't put things in your mouth that aren't supposed to be there.
That
And
sounds
I was
about right.
also told from a very young age
Mm-hmm.
about things called bump mouth and all that kind of stuff. And I watched little kids that my mom would babysit rub their mouths and put everything, and they just get all these bumps and so on. So, what I think is if you wish to put something in an orifice of your body that it's not supposed to be, just make sure that you are disinfecting not only your hands, but
Mm-hmm.
disinfecting the item.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that what you disinfect it with is not toxic.
Mm-hmm.
And understand that 100% of the responsibility of what happens based on the choice that you make is 100% your responsibility. And, it's your choice. But I just think it puts extra work on someone if they
Mm-hmm.
want to put something in their mouth for a temporary amount of time,
Yeah.
but have to go through that much work to do it.
So they should probably stop that then, right?
Um, that's not for me to say, but if you tell me that you have a history of putting dice in your mouth, not only will you never be able to use my dice, but I will never be able
Mm-hmm.
to
Ooh.
use your dice.
Ooh.
And it's not a personal thing. It's just
We
I
can't
live
trust you.
well, I have an immunocompromised condition, and I can't risk getting your Gucci juice.
Yeah.
So,
Crunch Crew's putting people out here at risk during a pandemic. That's what Honey said, and I agree. Y'all reckless. Y'all here get motherfuckers sick. I didn't think about that. Thank you, Honey.
if it's only you dealing with your own germs, then you have your unique whatever you need to deal with it. I just every time someone talks about that, I'm like, well, there are companies that do make edible like dice.
Why just eat the edible dice?
Yeah. Well, again, like I said,
You know what? I'm glad to have you on Stop the Crunch. We can end the interview now. Shut it off. Shut it off.
No, we still
Look.
got a little bit of this.
Look,
I
Britta
think
Lee
we will
Mulligan
have so
has
much of this.
disappointed me.
I say, what you do with your dice once you've put your money, your hands, them in your dice bag, that is 100% up to you. I appreciate people who are open about liking to put dice in their mouth because it allows me to make a more informed decision about what gaming resources we share. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think maybe it's just how I was raised. Like, it's just something that makes me go, as beautiful as the honey dice are, and as much as I loved seeing the photo shoot with the honey, like if you put dice in my teacup and I can't eat the dice, we're gonna have a conversation. Because
That you not gonna like. You hear that? Crush Crewers. Me and Honey about to roll up on you.
Decatane, I feel like the past 3 weeks have fully covered the spectrum of the crunch now. We're allowing our viewers to make an informed decision on the crunch by airing a myriad of perspectives.
I think this is one of the... It amuses me in a sometimes a what and sometimes a oh kind of way that these type of conversations actually take place, because again, if you want to lick your doorknob or if you want to put your dice in your mouth or if
that's
you want
gross.
to do whatever, that's your stuff. And if you let me know, I appreciate that. I think that's part of you showing that you respect me, to let me make again that informed decision of whether or not we share tangible gaming resources. But be careful, though. Be careful. Stuff happens. It is a choking hazard. If you look at the different packages and stuff, just be careful and take care of yourself.
Risk it. We out here trying to save lives.
Chat's just going off.
We got half the Crunch. We got we got the Crunch Crewers, man. We got the Kingdom Hearts fans, man. Let's see who else we can get back.
Well, everyone that's under any particular crew knows that I love you, regardless of what you put in your mouth.
There you go. Hoosh Kid wants to know fork or spoon for mac and cheese.
Fork.
Yeah, I
Who
agree.
the fuck
Fork.
eats mac and cheese with a goddamn spoon? You goddamn savage.
Apparently, Kelsey.
Well, it depends on the type of coordination that you may have at the time. You have some people where the manual dexterity that it takes to actually like impale the noodle on the fork can be more challenging because of a hand trimmer or so on. So using a spoon so that you get more than one noodle and be able to take that to your mouth without needing to put that pressure. It could be someone's situation.
Okay, well that's fair. That's fair. But if that's not the case, I would like to say that if you can eat your mac and cheese with a spoon, you made your mac and cheese wrong. It's got to be thick. You got to have to stab that motherfucker.
So let me explain. Macaroni and cheese is my dish, as in that's what I bring to most potlucks, events, and so on. I can make so many different types of macaroni and cheese, from macaroni and cheese that people didn't even know didn't actually have cheese in it because there was someone that was sick and they could not have cheese and they wanted macaroni and cheese so badly for Thanksgiving. So I made them a vegan macaroni and cheese and it worked out. But I've got a Cajun macaroni and cheese. I've got a 4-cheese mozzarella, macaroni and cheese. I've got traditional macaroni and cheese. Like, I am familiar with mac and cheese. And I have watched people eat it with different utensils based on what's available, based on their manual dexterity. Like one of my nieces, I love her so much, she just full out bodied that food just in her hand, the macaroni and cheese, and then picked the noodles out individually as she ate it. So I have seen people eat macaroni and cheese in so many different ways. Me personally, I have to use a fork because trying to get more noodles on a spoon, to me, that's a little bit frustrating. You have completely negated the question. Didn't involve chopsticks. I know people that eat.
Who the fuck is out here eating macaroni and cheese with chopsticks? You bougie motherfucker. I mean, what I meant to say was I support your choice and your lifestyle.
I'm just saying, like, I love these type of questions because there's so many different ways to look at it. Me personally, I use a fork because that's the most comfortable for me. If you use a spoon, now if you use a spoon because your macaroni and cheese is soup-like, now I'm questioning if we're more in the Alfredo range than we are actually in macaroni and cheese.
But, all right, hold on. I feel like we need to discuss how we make, and I'm assuming we're not talking put your foot in it macaroni and cheese that you have for Thanksgiving. I'm thinking we're talking broke boy. I got the blue box. I'm hungry right now. How do we fucking do this? So I need to know how everybody is out here cooking their mac and cheese, because I promise you my mac and cheese is better than all y'all's. You don't want these problems, I'm telling you.
If we're doing the broke boy mac and cheese, it is
the broke boy blue box. Hold on, one sec. Y'all think this is a goddamn game? You don't know who the fuck y'all dealing with.
I like him mumbling as he walks away from the camera. It's probably one of my favorite bits that he does.
I'm going to be honest. I'm so Southern that I did not know that macaroni and cheese could come out of a box.
Oh.
When I was younger, I didn't know that was a thing.
No, you just make it. Yeah.
I'm about that life, baby. I'm about that mac and cheese life. I'm poor. Let's go.
Okay, so obviously you boil the water.
Right.
Okay. I don't use the measurement instructions. I eyeball it. I follow my heart. So when you add the butter and the milk, you add the butter first, add the powder, mix it together, then you add the milk until it's like a good consistency.
Did you say milk?
Milk, yeah. You add butter and milk.
You boil mac and cheese in milk?
No, you boil it in water. You drain the water, and then you add the butter, add the powder, and mix it all together. And then you add the milk until it's like a good consistency, and then you add shredded cheese. If you have like a sharp old cheddar, you add that in there. What?
Okay,
You don't do too much milk. You just like do like a splash or so of milk.
All right, honey, what you got?
Honey was saying that you can tell the story.
I speak several languages, but the language of making Kraft mac and cheese is not one that I'm very familiar with, so I cannot speak to this.
Okay.
Not only because I am highly allergic to just about all the ingredients that are in those boxes, but also I did not grow up with that in my house. We just didn't have, like, mac and cheese was either you got it at the Piccadillys or it was for a treat for Thanksgiving, put your foot in it, and you got enough money to get one bag of noodles, a thing of the cheese you could, and whatever. Because I did also grew up what you consider poor, working class, but we never ate mac and cheese out of boxes.
All right. Here we go. First off, you fry yourself some bacon. What does bacon got to do with mac and cheese?
Oh.
Relax yourself. We getting there. Hey, you had your chance. It's my turn.
I'm just saying, you have bacon money?
I was about to say, wait.
Bacon is cheap as shit. What the fuck are you talking about?
No, man, in Canada it's like $8 a pack.
First, you fry yourself up some bacon or whatever cheap meat you got. If you got hot dogs, that works in a pinch, but it's got to be ballpark. Don't bring that Oscar Mayer wiener bullshit in my house. All right. Second off, you boil up some water. You put the noodles in that shit. You let that shit boil up till it's nice and foamy, and then you turn it down. Make sure your noodles are nice and soft. You drain the water. All right. Then you put that shit back in the pot. Then you put a big ass stick of butter, not a whole stick of butter, just some butter in it, and you let that shit melt up real good. All right, once that's going down, you take yourself a slice of pepper jack cheese, right? And you put that pepper jack cheese in there, and you stir that some bitch on up, and then you put the cheese powder in there. You stir that some bitch on up. You're not done yet. Then you go put some peppers in there. Then you go put some Tony Chachere's in there. Then once your bacon is nice and crispy, you break that shit up like little fucking magic dust of bacon. You stir that bitch on up, and then you put that in the bowl and you eat it. It's fantastic.
The cheese powder. What's the cheese powder? The Europeans apparently don't know.
You don't know? Am I gonna have to crack open a box of fucking
There's a
macaroni?
packet of cheese powder, that comes in the box.
Like with ramen and the rest, they have the packets of all the seasonings and cheese and stuff. It's cheese product.
That's a lot of ingredients for someone that's broke.
Yeah, I was like, I'm impressed.
It's y'all really go out here trip because I got some goddamn pepper jack cheese and some motherfucking bacon. Really? That's me doing it? That's me living the high life? Pepper jack cheese and fucking bacon? That's what y'all gonna give me shit over? You know what?
I like that you make macaroni and cheese that pleases your senses, that you put the seasonings in there that you can appreciate, and you are willing to use outside ingredients, things that come outside the box, to further enhance it. So however much you have and whatever is your budget reality for whatever lifestyle people live in, you go and you operate within that. And so Noor operates within his, and he chooses ingredients and so on, so that he can not only, because he mentioned some things that actually make it slightly more nutritious, but not only add things for extra flavor, but make the cooking experience something slightly more therapeutic than just water, noodles, cheese.
If you ain't got Tony Chachere's in your house, I ain't coming to your house. That's all I got to say about that one.
So what this means is
people in
that,
chat like, what is Tony Chachere's? Fix your life.
So what I do know is that means eventually I'm going to have to cook for you, Nor, and I will make macaroni and cheese as one of the dishes.
Mm-hmm.
What does Tony say? Motherfuckers.
Okay.
Here we
Again,
go.
you have to be open to the fact that different people have exposure to different ingredients and things. I knew there was a lot of people that didn't know what filet powder was,
Yeah.
or the filet seasoning that you need for gumbo and so on. And it was very hard for me to find in the average store.
Yeah, you would have to go to like a specialty spice shop to get it here.
Mm-hmm. So it really depends on where you are.
Y'all see this here? Y'all see this Tony Satchery's Creole seasoning?
Mm-hmm. They also make a filet, just the filet itself. So.
I only fuck with the Creole because that it. Oh my god, I could just eat it out the box. It makes everything taste good.
Because it's a combination of several seasonings that if you grow up in Louisiana that you already use to make your food. They've made it more accessible to other people and more affordable.
I don't care where you are in the world, you need to get this because you can literally put it on everything and it makes everything taste good.
It's a very delicious season. It's not like seasoning salt per se, because seasoning salt is just to enhance the flavor of salt. It allows you to get those other flavors in there, and it's not. I forget the Creole seasoning, like the one you showed. That's not spicy. There's one that's spicy, and then there's one that just has the flavors. Is that one?
Tony's is a little. Tony's got a little kick to it, and that's
Nakatane, for the last 2 weeks, I've seen more on his bullshit with Guess who went all out with his tempo, and today he's just being taught by Honey, and I absolutely love it.
That's the thing, though. I love wilding out with Honey because Honey just was like, all right, that's enough, and I'm like, yeah.
Honey's like
I used to babysit little boys that acted like Nor, and how I would calm them down was either wearing their behinds out with exercises, like I can do push-ups, I can do more push-ups than you can. No, you can't. Yes, I can. And then wear their behinds out. Or tell them amazing what-if stories, like how I got the little boy to stop climbing the wall. I told him a future state potential story that traumatized him so much that every time I was there, he wouldn't climb the wall. But yeah, I think it just shows that someone is endeavoring to make the most of the life that they have by being passionate about the things that they're passionate about.
Yeah, that's what I am. I'm passionate. Almost Face says it is £10 for that seasoning, Noir. I was gonna be like fake, annoying, patriotic, be like, but I can't even muster that up right now. So I'm just gonna say it's worth it. But Tony's like, this will last you a good couple years.
That's true. American specialty stuff is very expensive in Europe. That is like $15 for a can of seasoning.
Well, what you gonna buy? What you gonna spend $15 on that's better than Tony's?
Well, you may be able to get all the seasonings that are in Tony's individually from, like bulk seasoning aisles, like the spice aisles, and it be less expensive some places, which is
just make your own.
A little strange, but you can.
Chicken is what Faye responds with. I can get chicken for about $15.
Yeah, but you know what's better than chicken? Chicken with Tony's. Wow, we haven't talked much about TTRPG at all.
How did you get into TTRPGs?
Because I was like, people who have listened to my other interviews have heard me say this before, but I was reading at the age of 3, so by the time I was playing pretend with people, I didn't know that you didn't play pretend in an organized, structured way. So all of my pretend games had like settings, and everyone had a specific character, and it was like if we were playing a game and it was Star Trek themed, someone couldn't be a gorilla that breathed fire. That was absolutely ridiculous to me. That's not within this theme. That's not within this, etc. So as I got older and I learned that there were systems in place where they had like the dice you could roll and you could build your character sheets, and so like things like that. As someone who loves to tell stories and someone who loves collaborative writing, it was like a natural step. So that's how I got started in tabletop RPGs, was going from play pretend to doing forum based RPG stuff online to learning about the different systems that existed, beyond D&D, because I heard of D&D, but I just had this mental idea about what that was. Then I found out about Call of Cthulhu, and then there was all those D10 Eden Studios games that came out for all the famous shows that I'm not going to list because then I'm going to tell my age. But anyways, it got me interested in collaborative storytelling within the boundaries and controls and accountability that exists in a tabletop RPG system. So I started running them in text-based formats, and then I started running them in chat-based formats. Like I had chat bots in my instant messenger things. And then a couple years ago, I had started to watch some actual plays. And some of those actual plays got some of my associates interested in playing. And so I started running like how to play TTRPG games in person. And then someone online out the blue was like, "We're doing something for charity. Would you like to join in?" I said, "Sure." And then I've been trapped ever since. It has not stopped. But I got into the online world through the charity streams and so on. But outside of charity streams, I've been writing and doing TTRPG stuff for years.
Yeah. It actually sounds very similar to how I started this. Is I started Critical Misses, the original Critical Misses, as a group where people could learn how to play D&D without having to worry about like not knowing where to start. So that's where I started, and then I moved to online because, well, the world.
Yep.
Yes, Lauren Danger in chat is one of the folks that would meet up with us in person. We'd go to a bar and we'd sit in the basement of this bar and we'd play D&D, and I teach gender marginalized folks to play D&D. So yeah,
Like everybody's got such like nice, humble, and selfless origin stories. Like I started this to for charity and all that. I'm like, not me, baby.
I mean, I started playing with like my boyfriend and his friends like from high school. That's where I started. Do not recommend that unless like you have a good group. But my group was not a good group.
I was just about to start playing with your boyfriend. I was just kidding. I'm just kidding. So, honey, I gotta ask: are you a Star Trek fan? Because you mentioned Star Trek real quick there, and then kind of backed off of it.
I am I am not a good fan in any fandom that I'm interested in so much as if I enjoy a storyline, I will be high level invested in it. And because of how my brain works, I learn a lot about the settings, the characters, the where they came from, the history, and so on. And that's kind of where it begins and ends. If I like a world and I think I can tell stories within that setting and world, I'm slightly interested in it. So, and also I wasn't allowed a lot of TV as a child. There was when I met I'm blanking on names because caffeine is still Burton. When I met him at a convention, I mentioned as a child the only shows I seemed to be able to watch were ones where you were in them, because it started out with the obligatory viewing of Roots, which every black child knows that, and then by the time I could watch something outside of whatever was on PBS, my 30 minutes a day, um, as a family, we would watch Next Generation. Um, and I had a soft spot for Picard because Picard was bald and my dad was bald. Um, but that was my introduction to Star Trek was Next Generation, and then um, you also had the other kids, children of people who like Star Trek. So we played pretend, and we had our ship, the USS Friends, and we all had our different
Oh,
roles and positions and all of that kind of stuff. And then that kind of grew over the years until we grew out of it, and we're like, okay, switch to an online format because people were moving to different places. And then everyone goes their separate ways. So um,
USS
I
Friends.
yeah,
That's
So
so fucking
wholesome.
sweet.
yeah. But I will say that I enjoy certain aspects of Star Trek when there were stories where there was consequences to actions, and you got to see that in character actions equals in character consequences. Um, yeah, I know some of my friends to this day that were so into it that they've got like Star Trek tattoos and stuff now and all the rest of it. And I just don't get that invested in any fandom where I have to have a whole bunch of memorabilia. I
That
appreciate a picture with some of the actors and stuff if I get to meet them because I appreciated their characters. But that's kind of um, that's kind of where it begins and ends for me. I appreciate the storytelling and the writers had the courage to tell stories.
yeah.
So it feels like you're more invested in the world than the particular story.
I'm invested in good storytelling.
Mm.
When we had writers that would flat out be addressing through their social commentary actual things that were going on in the world, and then in a fictional way telling the stories about if this is not fixed or if this is left unchecked, this is what could happen or this is what has happened. I appreciated those stories. you know um, that's why I appreciated, I think, Stargate a lot more than I did Star Trek when I was older, because I could see the stories, and it was a little bit more down to earth for me. But I know so much about Star Trek. I know so much about Star Wars. I know so much about Stargate because that's just how my brain works. If they get on me today about actors or about K-pop or this or that, and I have to tell people anything that I like listening to or watching, I do a lot of research about so that I make sure I'm not inadvertently supporting something that harms groups of people.
Okay. Okay. So I God, you're too sweet for this show, by the way. It's just like uh, you you you're quelling my rage. I don't know how to handle this. All right, here we go. And I know you're gonna have a sweet, wholesome answer for this, and knowing that ahead of time already has me furious. Which do you like more? Star Trek, Star Wars? I'm gonna guess that the answer is gonna be Stargate, so I'm gonna omit that unless it's not.
It is.
Okay. That's what I was thinking. The sun's getting real low. Big guy. So yeah, Star Trek or Star Wars for you? One's got to go. Honey decides.
This either or is very challenging, these questions, because I'm a kind of person that's an and. In most things that I do is an and. So
Yeah.
let me answer from using two different use cases here. One as something that I could watch and enjoy and know that I would appreciate and go back without getting mad at my TV, Star Trek. One where I think the amount of work that not the necessarily the actors or the people that we think of when we look at Star Wars, but the behind the scenes, all the people doing computer graphics, the costuming, the makeup, the prosthetic work, the stunt work, and all of that, um, I don't want to invalidate all the work that all those people who aren't necessarily in the forefront of everyone's minds when you think about a fandom. I don't want to invalidate all the work that they've put in, like people who used to spend hours in suits, before things could be CGI'd, and creating new languages and all of that kind of stuff. So the world building that was created in Star Wars and supported through people with unique passions and talents, I have an appreciation for that. But as a show, as something that I could enjoy watching without being like, really, that's a played out trope, that would be Star Trek.
Okay. Okay. Um, and here's another question, and this one's going to be a lot more broad, so you don't have to worry about the either or. Again, you seem to be somebody that, and like you said, you do your research, and you are a fan of storytelling. So I know that your insight into this answer is going to be something that I'm very interested to hear, which is, if you had to live in the world of one fandom, which one would it be? Too broad.
I would say, well, I will give a lighthearted answer here.
Okay.
Probably Star Wars, because they look like they still eat food, like real food. In Star Trek, they got all that replicator stuff, and people aren't really cooking, like they used to. And like, I don't ever want to live in a world where we've gone beyond being able to have that tangible, like hands-on experience. Like at least in Star Wars, you saw people like pick a piece of fruit and cut it up. So, like I'm thinking about the food. I think that there's more similarities between the worlds than we really think about due to the technology that is used. But anytime the conversations start to get in the more metaphysical or spiritual, it's like the writers only have so far that they can go. So in both worlds, it's very, very similar. And they all have the storylines where somebody goes bad, and they always have these very similar tropes, and they both have very similar systems of government. If you think about it, they all have like these same very, well, if you think about it, if you're a writer or a student of history, you know that the origins of any ruling party in either genre of space fandom stuff that you get into, you see the it's all about colonizing, and it's all about who had the bigger toys, who had the bigger social influence, and so on. One of my friend's favorite thing is to sit me in front of the more recent Star Trek movies and watch me yell at the screen, for the first 20-30 minutes. They enjoy that because I think, too realistically, I know one of the movies I was like, absolutely not, absolutely not. You're gonna go live out in the jungle, I mean, out in the desert somewhere. I would be suing Star Trek. I would be suing the Academy. I would be suing whoever gave them people that training. I would be suing everything. I'm gonna have my body. I'm gonna have my baby while the ship is blowing up, and I ain't getting no money from that. Absolutely not.
I'm afraid to watch the new Star Trek stuff. Like honestly, I've watched the J.J. Abrams movies, and they're okay, but like I still haven't seen Picard or Discovery because I'm just terrified, because I love Star Trek and I just don't want to watch the new stuff and have them wreck it.
Yeah, I think you have to go into things with an open mind. You have to go into things understanding that people are going to tell the stories based on where they are at that time. And the stories that are going to be told are going to oftentimes reflect whatever the social challenges in that culture happen to be at that time. And I think if you go into it like that.
But honey, my mind is closed.
Well, That sounds
It's sealed
like,
up real tight, like.
that's your choice, though. That's something that you have decided to do. Like, if I decide to lock and close my door, I can
Mhm.
do that. If I
Yeah.
decide to keep my door open, I can do that
Mhm.
too.
Yeah, but that's how strangers come in. Stranger danger.
That's why my door remains locked. But but like I said, somebody mentioned in the chat about in Star Trek they did have some people eating foods, and I say again, we were doing high level. We're having high level, and one of the reasons I appreciated Neelix is because he also noticed that, and I was like, okay, yep, I'm fine. I'm glad someone finally said it. Like,
I, I don't know if I'd want to live in the Star Wars universe just
there's
because.
no black people.
Well,
Wait, sorry,
well,
there's very few. There's very few.
there's very few, and if you are black in the Star Wars universe, things are not going to go well. You'll either be the world's best thief and lose your brand new ship to some white dude. You'll be one of the most badass Jedis ever, and then get your arm cut off by a whitey white boy, and then yeet it off of a skyscraper. Or you'll be screaming after this one white girl that's got it real bad for like Darth Vader light. So it's just nothing good happens to you if you're black in the Star Wars universe.
Mm-mm.
I'm still so salty about everything that happened to Finn. We're not gonna get into it.
No.
Not gonna get into it. But the reason that I said, you know what, I think you just dunked on my point. Which is like, I don't look, just because you get put into a fictional universe does not mean that you're gonna have access to the shit that's in the physical in that universe. I am almost 10,000% that I do not have the mentality to control the Force, even if you put me in the Star Wars universe. Because it feels like in order to use the Force, you have to have some level of peace in your head. Like you have to have some kind of on the level, and that ain't me. Like, yeah, I have no self-control. So I don't think that I would have the Force. And so I feel like if I go to the Star Trek universe, I have a greater chance of cheating my way through the academy and joining Starfleet than I do being a Jedi or a Sith. Or a Sith. There's no chance I'd be a Jedi. If I went and default had control over the Force, oh, it's over. Give me that red lightsaber right now. Show me where the younglings are. Anakin missed a few. Anita, we can't hear you.
I was also going to say, as if you look at Star Trek, the benefits of going into a universe with a post-scarcity economy means that automatically you have more benefits than you would in a pre-scarcity economy like in Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, I live in the Star Trek universe just to have insurance.
Free medical care, any kind of food that you want if you live in within the borders of the Federation. Assuming you live within the borders of the Federation.
Yep, that's what I was about to say. Again, if you think about it and you delve too deep into any setting, you start to see that there are perks, there are challenges, and there is the reality of, even if it's supposed to be all aliens, there's still, because humans wrote it, human fallibility, human covetousness, this humanity fully saturating every aspect of every story. So you're going to have the haves, you're going to have the have-nots, you're going to have the fortunates, you're going to have the people who were unfortunate, and you're going to have these realities that exist simply because the people who write really can't write about a reality they know nothing about.
I thought the whole point of Star Trek was that there was no haves and have-nots, though.
That was
Depends on where you
No.
go. Depends on what you look
Yeah.
at.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'd be on Earth, baby, so I'd be
Yeah.
cool.
It's-
And honestly, when you were talking about food, like I was thinking, like, could I really get down with a replicator? You know, making my food like that all the time. And the answer is a very dangerous yes. Do you know what it's do you know how bad it would be for me to be able to go, you know what? I want peach cobbler at 4 a.m. and just make it happen? Like, I can't have that kind of power, honey. Like, do you know I would drown myself in tacos and I could choose whose tacos I get any time of the day and it costs me nothing? Oh my God. I'd be drunk all the time.
I just know in none of these worlds, these space worlds, this super advanced stuff, have they ever figured out a way to make childbirth not look agonizing. So when the universe is created where that happens, then I'll be like, hey, that would be a great one to live in. But until then, like each one has its options. Because every one of these
Yeah.
space shows, when somebody is having a child, it looks so agonizing. I'm thinking, you can regrow a limb, you can do all this magical stuff with these technologies, but you cannot help a woman through childbirth without her screaming and sweating and looking like they have to put the extra makeup so she looks extra tore up on the screen.
Oh my God. You know what? You are oh my God, you're right. I can't think of a single fantasy setting
Yep.
where childbirth is easy.
Yep.
You know what? That's a dick move from us dudes. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You mean to tell me you've thought about space wizards with laser swords? But Padme Amidala dies during childbirth because she's sad.
Why can't they use the transporter? They did in an episode of Voyager. They used the transporter because
Emergency.
It was an emergency birth,
Mm-hmm.
but that's the only reason why they used it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because the
God
baby
damn.
had brow spikes, I think, and they were tearing into the uterine wall.
Woo! I don't want to. No, don't like thinking about that, and that's why it doesn't get written, fellas, because we don't
Yeah.
like thinking about it. But like, no way.
See, that's why if you think about things too long, that's how my brain works. I'm like, okay, whoever writes that universe where they've solved for all of people's medical challenges and issues, then I'd be like, that'd be a fun one to live in. Until then, if STDs still exist.
Oh my God! Star Trek addressed STDs before they addressed childbirth.
Exactly. Sorry to take it down that direction, but you
No,
know,
that's
Yeah.
fine. No, that's fine. Like, I'm trying to think about childbirth and all my favorite fandoms. Like,
Any fantasy, the mom is just done. You don't need to worry about that.
but if you're expecting in the Disney universe, just start writing your will because you're not gonna make it.
or
Disney
you know,
Disney has a thing with killing moms.
see, that would be wonderful. That would be when somebody just said something in the chat that I'm like, yes, amen. That's wonderful. So,
Thanks to this conversation, all games I run forever will have beautiful, painless, magical, techno childbirth wonder.
Yeah, you just dimension door the baby out.
mm-hmm. All right,
Oh
what
my
else you got
God.
for me?
I'm seriously going through like in the Marvel universe, it sucks. DC universe still sucks. Lord of the Rings can't confirm pregnancy sucks. Like, Star Wars pregnancy sucks and will kill you if you're sad. Wow, jeez, there's every episode a guest says something that just fucks me up for the rest of the goddamn episode.
And this is the thing that you're gonna think about at 3 a.m.
I'm trying to be like, all right, if if I'm pregnant in the Dungeons and Dragons universe, how do I make this not suck?
And there's so many different ways, but we don't need to get into that.
No. This is going to haunt me.
For real, right? Like, I'm like, no, there's got to be a combination of spells or something that could just. But then again, you got to maintain concentration on that spell, and that ain't gonna happen.
Unless your midwife has magic.
or unless the expecting mother has to warcast her feet. She's just like, I was ready for that.
Guess I just let cast reduce on the baby.
Or if the mother's raging and she takes half damage. Fucking move, I've got it. Sorry.
Next emote facepalm.
I have been told that is something that I do quite a bit, but most of it is due to this lovely individual right here.
That's fair. That's where most of mine come from as well.
We usually recommend picking up the Warcaster feet for first birth. Oh, I can. Okay, you know what? That brings me to a question that I never thought I would ask.
Mm-hmm.
Has anyone, and this is a question for chat too, because I don't think I've ever seen this in a game. Childbirth.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever experienced the RPG moment involving that?
Yep.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I have not. How about you, Anita?
No.
You want to? Oh wow! I'm seeing some yups. That is surprising. Well, not surprising. I just never thought about it.
And Alicia, her character gave birth during a campaign.
All right, you want to tell us about that moment, honey?
What I was saying is I've been doing this for like running games and playing games for a while, so I have seen some of everything because I've done both the text-based TTRPG world and the like face-to-face TTRPG world. What I will say is it really depends on how much the player wants to get into the details and work. I always discourage people from playing into stereotypes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, if I'm playing a futuristic sci-fi world, there's a lot of stuff that I say we can hand wave, but there's a lot of realities that'll be like, I don't believe that this would still be an issue in this case. And then I'll have players that'll be like, yeah, but we're not in a medical physician, we're not in a medical place, we're out in the middle of nowhere, so your character's got to deliver my character's baby. What? Now, because I can do comedic improv, that ended up being hilarious. My character delivered another character's baby that would end up being, his godchild and everything. But it became a running joke as we aged up all the characters and somebody played the daughter who had been delivered in the game. And it was a running joke of, I helped to pull you out. You owe me. Because of what I had to witness and that kind of thing. And I had played a purely asexual character that was, very, averse to things that were, sexual and all the rest of that. And then because he was trained to be a nurse, he had to deliver a child and he was traumatized after that. But what I'm saying is, for me, things like childbirth, things like illness, things like that, I don't really personally.
that's dangerous. Like that takes a certain level of grace as a GM, I would
Yeah.
think, because that's very easy to fuck up. Uh,
And I don't like roles being done for stuff like that because, again, unless we are playing like an ER version of a game and everybody is like in a giant hospital and somebody works in this wing and they deliver babies all day, then I'll be like, do we really need to play that out? Like, you deliver
yeah,
babies. Like, we don't need to play that out.
You can hand
Just
wave
like
it.
open surgeries and all the rest of it. It's
Yeah.
if that's something someone wants to play out in their game, more power to you. But I personally am just like, it's we know it. We know what happens. Like, and if you don't understand how childbirth takes place, there's a lot of YouTube and Google resources.
Good
Um,
morning, Nightheart Gaming. Thank you for that raid. Good to see you all.
I did want to call out Alicia.
Mhm.
In chat, she says she did have a moment where she gave birth in a campaign,
Mhm.
and the same character also fought the big bad 9 months pregnant, which is badass. Like
Mhm.
that is like you know, I feel like part of the TTRPG community is like bragging about badass moments that your character has had, like Stone Cold stuttering and dragging to death. But like, I don't think that anything tops being 9 months pregnant, going toe to toe with the BBEG. That's dope.
It takes trusting your GM, it trusting your group of players, and so on, and knowing that people aren't going to suddenly change the narrative into something that it doesn't need to be.
Yes.
Yes.
Because again, people have been throughout history, people have been fighting while pregnant, regardless of their personal gender identity. They have been out there supporting people either on the front lines or behind the front lines supporting and things for years. It happens. There's ways to do it and so on. And if we're telling stories about moments of life to celebrate, if we're telling stories about victories and accomplishments and battles, then it's okay, I think, and it's a wonderful thing to be able to focus on that. Um, so I think that's an amazing, beautiful thing. And anybody that would push back and say that's not realistic, I'm like, yes, it is. Like, yes, it is. You have
Yeah.
people that have been fighting, all the way into the moment of about to give birth to the child. You know,
And I'm so sick of that fucking argument that it's not realistic. You are playing a game where dragons exist. Please shut the whole cell fuck up. Like it's I feel like a lot of the people that do that are they just don't want to say I'm uncomfortable or I don't know how to do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think encouraging people to use their words, to use a, to be like, look, do you not want to do this because you're not interested in it? Does it make you uncomfortable, or you're so unfamiliar with it that you do not want to engage with this topic or this situation? If so, you don't have to. Like, you
Yeah.
don't have to. Um, in that phrase, it's not realistic. I always clarify that there's a difference between a DM not wanting to make allowances for something because it will negatively impact the story and take away from everyone else's gaming experience. That is, if everyone is working together, if everyone is doing X, Y, and Z, to say, okay, in the middle of the night, I drugged all the guards and I set this on fire and I burnt this down. I da 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 da. I'm like, no, you did not. Not in one night. That did not all happen. And we can do some rolls and I can tell you what might be possible, but we're not going to do that because what you're going to do is make your entire party now wanted, and you're
Yeah.
going to get trapped in a city. There's a whole bunch of innocent people in this city, and I'm not running a game where you go around killing innocent people. I'm sorry, I'm not. That's
Yeah.
not something I'm going to do. It's different than someone coming to me and say, I have this idea. Okay. This is what I want to play. Okay. And working with them to see how you can make that work, even if it's a different version of what they originally planned, make it work within the story you're planning to tell. That, I think, is part of being a responsible DM. Now, if you say I want to be able to shoot laser beams from my chest, okay, are we talking about creating a special breastplate where you have that built in,
Nipple
you know,
lasers.
and so on? But most of the time, I'm going to ask why. If your character is a professional fighter, yes, in what way, shape, or form outside of novelty? And if you can give me a good reason, if you can pitch to me a really good reason why this would be the case, I'll say okay. But in general, I ask why, not sarcastically, but because I actually do want to know why. I
Right.
ask how, not sarcastically, because I do actually want to know how in the world this is supposed to work. I respectfully ask for some time to think about it to see how I can get that, to work. And then I'm so upfront and honest with my characters or my players, and I say I personally don't know how this is going to work, or it can work if you're willing to do X, Y, and Z. So it's
Right.
it's always to me fun to have those conversations. God, what?
I'm sorry. I just.
Um. Wow. Okay.
I'm sorry. Mutation to the lasers are actually an incredibly unfortunate mutation to the character's psyche. That is the best sentence I've read all day. I'm so sorry. I love this show. I have had the experience of and as somebody that has run as many games as you have, I'm very curious as to your perspective on this. Where I like to give my players the chance to have like spotlight moments and to kind of work with them to give them moments that they want or special, like not special, but like their own difficulties to overcome. And generally, um, I try to run it by the group to see if everybody is cool with that kind of thing happening. Um, this just back on the topic of pregnancy because that's just something that I've never experienced in the game before. I feel like that might be the kind of thing where one player might want that, but another player would be like would potentially be say that I'm uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
Now, generally, the thing is, if one person doesn't want it at the table, then it's not at the table. I don't know that a good consciousness that I feel weird about Xing that at the table if somebody wants it and somebody else doesn't. So I'm very curious as to your perspective on that because there's nothing wrong with it. Is the thing, it's natural and as a
But it
cis
might be
guy, I
a
feel like
it might be a content warning that people
Mm-hmm.
don't necessarily
okay,
like, especially if they've had bad experiences with that sort of thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
that's fair. That's fair. Oh,
In anything that, again, illness, pregnancy, history, certain people's histories, they like to write these backstories that are so dark that sometimes you have to come back to them and say, look, I know this kind of stuff happens in the world, but that's not the kind of game that I'm running. And
Yeah.
while this may not be something that you say, we don't have to play it out, but if it's part of the character, it's going to come up eventually, either through discussions or responses and so on. And I'd prefer not to be in that situation. Now, there's a lot of things that are perfectly normal and healthy. There's nothing wrong with a spider, but if someone has a severe phobia
okay,
of spiders,
that's fair.
I'm not going to put that in there. Then when you if you're endeavoring to build what I call a diverse and an inclusive and a safe space for people to come, there are certain themes, especially when it comes to how do I say this delicately? Subject matters that could trigger dysphoria, subject matters that could trigger
Oh,
traumas,
oh,
and so
yeah.
on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, things specific to like pregnancy and so on, that is a huge thing. Um,
Okay.
some people have the same thing with body modifications in a game and so on. That's why those lines and veils that you gather from the beginning are very important, and also letting people know there's room to add more. I don't just get lines and veils, and you're familiar with this, that
Yeah.
I see. I get lines and veils, and even though they may be submitted anonymously, that my whole player group can see. So that they all know in their backstories and the stuff they joke around with and the things they want their characters to do, that they're not crossing any of these lines or pulling back the veil for things that people want done off screen. If someone
Okay.
wants a child in a game, I'm okay with saying, okay, let's see, should we do a fast forward, or do you want to temporarily play another character for a little while and say the other character is off doing X, Y, and Z, or we can throw in an adoption. There's a lot of options that you can do if somebody wants to introduce the topic of children. But this is something that I'm very, very passionate about as a DM, and I try to make sure I do not like the usage of children or infants or
Yeah, that's a
pets or
line.
anything that cannot defend itself to be used as a prop in the game.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people like the drama behind getting a pet or having a child or adopting or so on. But as a DM, having to constantly say, okay, you know that the child is with you. Are you really going to do X, Y, and Z? And they don't pick up on the clues of do you want to send the child to go stay with your mythological mother or whatever for a while. If it starts to become like a prop, a drama filled kind of thing, not like Clockwork Vines where someone has a family and they're on a family trip. That's
Yeah.
not using a child as a prop. Using a child as a prop, as you often forget about the existence of this baby or this pet until you want something dramatic to happen. And I've got lots of lines and veils, like associated
Yeah.
with children and harm to children and so on.
Yeah.
So that's where I kind of put my foot down. Like, look, as a DM, it's okay to ask why, as long as that's not coming from a place of sarcasm or bitterness. If it's an actual legitimate reason to know why someone wants to make a decision for their character, having that discussion can make the game so much better.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, and I think you touched on a point here that really it separates a good GM from an amazing GM, which is knowing how to disagree. Um, and I feel like that's something that needs to be spotlighted more often. There are ways to have different perspectives on things, lay down the law, and oh my god, I just stepped on one of my boxes of macaroni. Um, and I'm like, something feels real noodly at my foot. Um, uh, there are ways to disagree and lay down the law without being a dickhead.
Without
So,
being cruel or mean about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess that's a better way to say it. That's karma for using a fork. Can we ban Alicia from the chat, please? Uh,
Uh, Stella Luna said that the ability to submit lines and veils anonymously can be helpful too. So just even like an open Google Doc that people can add to is helpful.
yeah,
In person, you can use index cards, and I tell
Yeah.
people you don't have to put your name on it. Just give me the index card or give me the piece of leaves. You don't have to pass around a piece of paper to each person.
Yeah.
Someone can write what they want on your card, give it to you, and then you're responsible for, it takes personal responsibility.
What I do is I get them to write down in person. I get them to write down the lines and veils that they have, anonymously pass them to me. I take that list and I write down a master list based off. I shuffle them up and I write down a master list based off of that. So that way it's not like, oh, that's not my handwriting. That must be one of theirs at the table.
Oh, Same, we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
I just, instead of a larger form, because I have limited space when I travel, I use index cards. They give me the index cards, nobody else sees them. And then
Okay.
I make a master list from the index cards
Yeah.
taken.
And then if you want, you can place that in the center of the table, and that way they can see the list.
You know what? I'm curious. What I want to know, what other tools do you have, like for your in person games,
Oh.
that you use? I use the red card black card system for if there's problem players at the table and nobody wants to talk about it. So if you're in a home game with me, one of the things that happens is, you get a character, you give me your character sheet, and I assign you a card. You'll be like, you'll be like a king, queen, jack, ace, or a number. Usually, I don't have to do a number because I don't have that many players, right? And at the end of every session, everybody turns in a card. Black means me and this player are cool, no problems. Red means this person was an issue, and then it happens anonymously, and then we discuss it at the next session, or I talk to the person in private. That system has worked pretty well for me, and it's helped me stop some games from blowing up, which, I think that's pretty cool.
That's a
Do you have
very
any?
interesting method for that. I have a whole kit that I use for in-person games. Um, it's just like a little like plastic bin tub that I have character sheets, name badges with space for name and pronouns and characters' names and pronouns. So that way I can actually see who they are and who they're playing at a glance. That sort of thing. And then, yeah, we'll do X card system at the table. So if anything comes up in play that people would like to X out, they can tap it, or they can do the line on the backside. It's like, okay, I'm hitting close to, but not quite there yet, or that sort of thing. And that way the safety tools get implemented in the game. And then, yeah, I'll do the index cards for lines and veils specific to the table, and then I'll do the master list from there. Stuff like that. I got a whole kit that I built.
You got anything else for us, honey?
Yeah, I sometimes feel like an old church mother with her purse of the stuff that I bring, but very similar. The character sheets, I kind of, I don't know if I go overboard, but like, I supply just about everything from the pencils to the index cards to the character sheets. And I have, if people don't have their own dice, and a lot of times because I'm doing workshops, a lot of people don't have their dice. So I have my spare dice that I use, that I make sure everyone has a set. And oftentimes my spare dice matches the pencils. So everyone has their, I set the place at the table like I'm at a tea party or whatever. And everyone has their index card to write lines and veils, their character sheets, their name tags, their pencil, their one set of dice in case they don't have any. So depending on where I am, I usually have some type of treat, whether it's a piece of candy or something like that, that each person can get their um, little thing. Most of the time, if I'm running in-person games, they are one-shots for conventions. So I put a little bit extra into it. When I am doing regular games, that usually it's with friends. So I've never had to have a, do you have a problem with this person or that person kind of conversation. We've had the safety tools of X cards, or if something makes you uncomfortable, flip this over, or so on. But as part of my kit for that, in our lines and veils, we also collect like food allergies or sensitivities, or how often they need to take a break. A lot of times I'll know who has medication to take and who doesn't, so I'll make sure that we take a break at this time. and we rotate out who brings various foods and so on. But most of the time, I set up my table like I'm preparing to host a meal. So most of my kits
Yeah.
Are set up like that.
Yeah, I've got the pencil case that's got all the pencils and notepads. So if people need scrap paper, they can write on the notepads. And oh yeah, I got a whole little box that I bring. I poured around.
I would just like to mention that we are having this real thoughtful discussion on DM protocols and making sure that all of our players are safe and whatnot.
Yeah,
and chat is still fighting about forks versus spoons in macaroni and cheese. I love our chat.
I just this spoon versus forks kind of thing, and it just is amusing to me.
Fork gang for life. Fork squad. This is why I love Guess I'm Sally. All right, I'm sorry. We were having a lovely conversation, and I just ruined it because of chat.
You're fine.
No, these are important conversations.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very curious about, because I've never really brought my system up for scrutiny, the black card, red card system. If you were in a game where that was the case, how would you feel about that?
If that's a safety tool as a DM that you have implemented to make sure people can continue to enjoy each other's company and not cause any issues at the table, I think it's a wonderful system. I think any safety tools that you need to put in place to keep yourself and your players safe is a good system. I am very selective of the people that I run games for. I know that sounds like, oh, then you gatekeep. I don't gatekeep. There's only very specific types of people who want to play in my games, and those are the people that I've been very, very fortunate to always have in my games. Because I start out, even when you fill out one of my applications to play in my game, up front I'm like, this is what this is about, this is how we play, this is the basic expectations of everyone's behavior. If this is not something you can agree to, there's no point of filling out this application. So I kind of nip it there. Now, wooden spoon, glass, what the fingers are...
Don't, honey, don't fall into the trap and read our chat. Don't do it.
There's talk about chopsticks and using hands for mac and cheese.
I just think these conversations, while they can be amusing, I just would caution everyone to make sure that we're all keeping it in good fun without unintentionally coming across as one is actually better than the other, because it's not. Like, at the end of the day, the point is to get the food to your mouth. And however you need to do that, whether it's preference or
Forks
medical situations.
Better.
There are some countries that don't use forks.
Time to colonize, baby. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Nope. Okay. On that note, that's a good time as any to take our first 10-minute break.
No, hold on. We had a question from chat.
Okay.
Are there certain topics that you see coming up during games that are a common issue? So one of the things. Well, wait, what did you say?
Nor.
Okay, I'm gonna behave. Cancel the Enigma. Oh my god, I almost want to get canceled because that's a dope ass hashtag.
No, it is not. No, it is not. No, it is not, because I use Enigma as part of several usernames, and you will not taint the usage of the word Enigma.
Cancel the Enigma. All right. One of the things that off the bat, if you're in one of my games, if you're in one of my D&D games, I should say, we have I will have a talk with you before we play about uh enchantment spells. More specifically, charm person, because that spell, in my 20 plus years of GMing, has been the cause of more than a few awkward moments. Awkward, uncomfortable, and downright kind of disgusting moments. So I nipped that in the bud right away. Um, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of nerf charm person, because it's a very disturbing spell. Is what I'll say. I highly recommend everybody read that spell and really kind of think about what the implications of that spell are. So, yeah, that's one of the things that I see coming ahead of time, and I try and deal with it before it becomes an issue. Any
Mm. Um, Anita, you have something?
I have the standard lines of no phobias, homophobia, transphobia, that sort of thing. None of that behavior goes on in my games. Doesn't exist in my worlds.
There's two things. One is the usage of spells that take over people's autonomy. To your point, there's quite a few that the way that they are written, um, there are very few people I would trust with them. There are some people that I know hands down because of the type of person that they are. I know that they will not abuse these particular types of spells. But if I'm opening up a game that has multiple people, in order for to be fair, I can't say this person can use them and this person cannot. The second is non magical actions or activities or things focused towards other players or even NPCs that cross the line of consent. For example, someone is unconscious and you want to pick their pocket. There is no point in picking your teammate, mate's pocket. Now, if you two talk to each other and like, we really want to do this, I'm going to give a deep sigh of disappointment, but I can't tell you not to do that. But consent is such an important thing, not only for your fellow player characters, but some people have this idea that if it's an NPC, it's not as important. So if I want to rob, if I want to tease, if I want to insult, if I want to attack, if I want to do any of these things without fear of consequence, I should be able to because they're just an NPC, a background character, which I think comes from a video game mentality. Um, Anyone that's played in my games knows that every NPC that's created has the possibility of interacting with you. So whether it's an old lady who was offered a belt in order to chastise Nora's character, or if
I don't remember consenting to that. Sorry,
you did not get hit.
That's true.
But or even things as far as death, personal death. Somebody wants their character to die because they want to make a new one. This is a hill, not that I will die on. This is a hill that I will live on and shout victoriously from. I don't believe in having hills to die from. That's ridiculous. And you end, and people do whatever they want to do after that. I have a hill that I will protect by it at all costs, and that is asking your table if they want to know if a character's death is something that is about to happen with the consent of both players, or if they are okay with character death being a surprise. People go through enough loss, especially in this day and age, to be mysteriously hit by a situation that no matter how hard they try, they cannot save the other person. I have seen people be out of character emotionally devastated by this. So I always give my table the choice. Now, sometimes they say, we're okay, we're fine. We get that this is a possibility. And other times, I have people flat out telling me, I would prefer to know that this person asked for their character to be written out of the story in this way, so we understand, even though my character may try to save them, that's not wanted. So, death is something I think needs to be discussed, and it needs to be something that everyone is on the same page about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And that kind of when it's telegraphed, when you know that a character is gonna die, that's one thing. How do you deal with character death that's spontaneous? That's just like in combat, it goes down. Like me, I let it. I tried to let my players know, like, this is a situation where if you don't work to find an exit right now, whatever happens is about to happen. you know, and we just go with how the dice roll. But like, do you pull back, or like how do you handle natural? I guess that's the best term for it. Natural player death.
I know Anita wants to go to break, so I'll say
that is true. That is true.
That's
I can answer before or after.
That's all right. We can finish the answer to this question, and then we'll cut to break afterwards.
All right.
I was mostly saying because we're at the hour and a half mark, and I got for break.
So, what I will say, and Nor, you've played in my game, so you've seen the document. I have a 3-strike rule. That means because I am not telling characters where I would prefer TPKs or deaths and so on. First one, because we most of the time play in universes that have ways of people being revived and so on, whether it's a person in the party or a temple they can go to or whatever. First one, you come back with a permanent injury of some sort, but the character is not permanently dead. Second one, that character comes back with an additional, permanent injury, scar, and will have some negatives applied to any attacks that are similar to how they were killed. And the third one, which I have never played a game where somebody dies 3 times, because that would feel like a failure on my part, or something is going horribly wrong. The third one, we're going to come to, sit aside and have a conversation. But yes, I have a 3-strike rule when it comes to handling death in any of my games. And that is with the full understanding of everyone. I developed that when I had to run a war campaign, and I was really, really worried about if I run this war campaign, the chances of death are so high that we'd have no characters. We'd have no characters afterward. So how do we handle this? And it allowed all of our support characters, all of our medical characters, and everyone to have these starring roles that they could play. Our engineers, our mechanics, and everyone with building prosthetics and all of this kind of stuff. And everyone got this wonderful role play experience without it being focused on loss. So that's how I handle it. I don't do TPKs. And I don't balance my encounters either, so I'm surprised.
We'll talk about TPKs when we come back.
It's actually
because that is
excellent place.
That is another topic that I want to talk about, and we also have our That Guy segment that we still need to do on the other side of the break. So we're going to go on break then.
All right, we will be back in 10 minutes. We're going to stretch our legs, do bio breaks, whatever we need to do, and you shall all do the same. We will see you back in about 10 minutes. Bye. And we're back. We are back on the air. You can talk now more.
Maybe I wanted to let y'all talk. I've been
right.
doing a lot of talking, so y'all talk.
I thought you said you wanted to talk about TPKs.
You know what? I did say that, and maybe I changed my mind.
Okay. Cool. We can now talk about TPKs.
Okay, yeah, I guess that's what we're gonna do then.
You're just being petty for the sake of being petty.
You know what? I'm not being petty. All right. So anyway, welcome back, everybody. I guess we need to just jump into it then, one. What were you about to say?
So I mean, we could hop into other topics and then make our way back there. But yeah, we could hop into TPK right away.
You just told me to talk about TPKs.
You're right.
I start to talk about TPKs, and then you pull back.
Nope. Okay, you're right.
No. Let's have it. We're falling apart.
A little bit. We kind of went off the rails. Not that we ever had rails to begin with the show. How do you handle TPKs, honey?
Wow! You told me to talk about the TPK. And then you just lob it to Honey. That's fine. That's fine. I'm literally wearing a murder hobo shirt. That's cool. That's cool. Toss it.
Listen. I'll pick up the ball.
I think Noor has quite a bit that he'd like to say on this topic, so I'm okay with him starting it off, and then I can add my 2 cents.
You know what? I don't know where I am anymore.
Okay.
Am I talking about the TPK? Am I not talking about the TPK?
Yes.
What's even happening anymore?
Okay, Noor, what is your take on TPKs?
I'm glad you asked. I don't really have a take. I was going to ask you what you feel about TPKs, but you took that from me.
Okay. I will start with a story, and hopefully this story will not be that guy, but it may. The reason why I'm not a big fan of TPKs was early on in my TTRPG career, so to speak, as a player. I was playing a really wonderful game. I created this character. Everyone had this good, chemistry. We were having a great time. It was like a high school supernatural setting. Everything was chill. And, they always have that hangout that everybody goes to for some reason that doesn't actually exist in real life. But on TV shows, there's always a hangout that's 5 drinks short of being a bar, but all the high school kids are there. Anyways. Technically a coffee
remind
shop.
Me to come back to this topic because I've got lots that I want to say on that.
Anyways, so that we were doing kind of a social kind of thing. Everybody was hanging out there, and then one of the DMs was like, "Hey, you guys want to do a scene, like an action scene?" We're like, sure, cool. Now keep in mind we're all about level 1 or 2 this night. And this particular DM brought in these characters, did not tell us what their ratings were, and with the assumption of you don't engage with characters who are higher, and DMs don't usually throw, like, you're level 1 and they've got some level 15, 16 stuff on you. Long story short, it was a situation where our characters would just not stand by and do anything. And then in about, I'm going to say 4 rounds at the max, all of our characters were dead.
God damn.
And all attempts at like escape or special feats and everything were just, there was always reasons why we couldn't use them. And then afterwards the DM was kind of gloating and giggling like everyone was in on the joke about how they just love the killing off characters or whatever that was. And that shook me. That I was still a teenager when that happened, but it shook me to the core, just how violent and brutal and no conversation, and it just was such a bad experience that I said that's not something I ever want to put anyone else through. So I tend not to include TPKs because I'm never telling a storyline where the focus is really on a lot of violence. You've played in a lot of my games. There's conflict, but it's always like man against nature, man against concepts, unless man against nature or man. And as a note, I'm using the understood man here, as in the conflicts, not the genders here. So Um, I think if you have what they call a total party kill, I think everyone at that table should be comfortable with each other to know that that is a possibility, and that everyone can be in on accepting it. Um, I do not believe that TPKs that come out the blue, um, with no opportunities or room for um, adapting or adjusting the story, is really conducive to like a continued campaign. Now, some people run their games that way, and I have no judgment. If you're playing a game and everybody is used to it, and people just love making up characters, and they go into it with the expectation, like you have a whole bunch of murder hobos who know that their time will come, like they know that's going to happen.
Gang, gang.
Um, it's important to know what your game is going to be about before you do it. Like I said, I've run a whole war campaign before that was extremely taxing from a DM perspective because there's so many NPCs and forces and mechanics and stuff that you have to deal with. Um, but it's like watching a war movie. You're not going to pay attention to every single character that's in that war movie. There's like a specific group that you're focused on, and so I really care. Sometimes I think I care more about people's characters than they do. um, as a storyteller, because I found ways to weave them into the soul of my worlds. So I think TPKs have to be navigated uh, carefully, and I think that lots of checking in, lots of aftercare, to use that term, is really, really important. Whether or not people say, I'm fine, this is cool, the reality of loss hits people in different ways. And it's always important to have some level of aftercare when that has been introduced into your game. As a DM, taking care of and checking on your players, or as a player who's caring, checking on your other players and your DM as well. Um, I think these are all very important things to keep in mind.
Yeah. Uh, I generally, I don't set up any kind of area or trap that can TPK. If my players somehow navigate themselves into a scenario that can end in a TPK, I try to warn them with all the in-story language that all of us GMs know, like the extra "Are you sure's" and this seems like a dangerous area, all that kind of stuff. Um, and I try to be merciful. I try to design a way for them to get out. Um, but if it is a self-inflicted TPK, I usually just let that rock. The last TPK that I had was, and I've told the story on this show a few times, the wizard in the bar stock room who decided it was a good idea to cast Fireball. That's the face. That's the face that I made. And you know what I asked? Are you sure? Are you sure you want to do this? And yeah, they decided to do it anyway. And well, that you can't. I mean, I let it rock.
I have never had a TPK yet. Mostly
as a GM or a player.
As a player, I've had a TPK, but that was also because my GM was much like Honey's story, the murderous kind, the kind that was more interested in creating a narrative where he beat the players rather than creating a narrative where we would be telling a collaborative story.
Yeah. And same here. I've died quite a few times as a player. Most of them I actually didn't deserve. Maybe one or two I did, but yeah. I'll be honest. But
I deserved none of the deaths that I went through as a player, because a lot of it was adversarial other players or adversarial DM. You are walking through the woods as a party, and a ranger comes out, arrow knocked but pointed at the ground, and asks you what you are doing here on these lands that I protect. The barbarian's response was to murder my character. Instantly, rather than, trying to buy into the fact that, this is a new player, let's try and welcome them into the party. Let's have some role play. No. That was my first character death.
Yeah.
No.
And that's it's shit like that I do the red black card system, because it's just like, you know this is another player. Why the fuck would you kill them? Are you out of your goddamn mind?
Yeah.
Get out of my get out of my table immediately.
That's the thing, though, is that the DM fed into that kind of behavior, right?
Yeah. So I mean,
and me being the only femme at the table, I'm obviously only there because my boyfriend is there, and so thus they'd want to mess around with the newbie or the player that doesn't quite know what they're doing yet. No, they just don't understand the idea of collaborative storytelling, and I think a lot of that is toxic behavior that gets learned from a DM that is in a position of power or a position of authority, because he was an older boy. He was a couple years older, so a lot of the other people at the table looked up to him. So the behavior trickles down because he was a role model.
Yeah, that's fucking stupid. I hate that kind of shit.
Oh yeah.
I swear to God,
See, I think there's a difference between, as long as we can label it as things like stupid, it's very easy to dismiss it. That is willful ignorance and a lack of empathy. And until we start calling people out for choosing not to ask what makes somebody uncomfortable or what somebody's limits or boundaries are, that's willful ignorance, because you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't ask, it means you don't want to know.
Mm-hmm.
And a lack of empathy comes in where people don't really care. And that's when I say you have tables of people who have video game mentality, where it's just about who wins, who fights. They could care less about role play. That's not what they're interested in. And I said, I thank someone if they tell me that's how it is and that's how they see this is how you play the game. I thank them. I know I could never play at their table, but I thank them because I understand that that's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Same way if I'm in a game of people who love the romance aspect of TTRPGs, and if there is a dragon, if there is a monster, their first inclination is to go seduce the monster. Now, you do you. If that's what you like to play in someone, I don't think that's a good or a bad thing. But I'm not necessarily interested in running a game where I have to roll against your seduction or your charm rolls with my NPCs, who are literally created to be the foil or the antagonist in your storyline. But it's very important, again, to have those conversations, because some people like that. And if that's their way of expressing and relieving stress and so on, I think you need to be with someone who can run that type of story for you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have those inclinations.
I think
it's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I this is where I'm gonna disagree slightly.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing but a bad thing, and to me, it's nothing but stupid. And here's what, I know that that's simple and making something complex simple, but here's why I think it's justified. The entire point of the game is to work together to beat a common threat. In this story, there is somebody that, It's not, this ranger is not an NPC. We know for a fact that this is another person who sat down, made a character with the expectation of joining a party, telling a story, and fighting by your side. And you killed them.
Mm-hmm.
There is no explanation you can give me that would make sense as to why you would do that. There is like it just it fundamental.
His explanation is it was my character's alignment. They're chaotic neutral.
That's
Yeah.
that was the player's decision
I know.
and how he plays the game, like going into a video game. Oh, I can just do this. To your point, Nor, I don't think we are disagreeing.
Mhm.
I always stay on the side of if that somebody else in their space is doing something in a certain way, I'm grateful that I know that they do it that way so I can avoid it because that's not something I want to support or feed into. That's when I say I don't think it's good, I don't think it's bad, it's just not for me. If someone learned that way, if someone continued that way, if people follow that way, because I've met some old school TTRPGers who were like, we need to get a game together. But I listen to how they talk about the game and what they're interested in. I know I'm not going to be able to play at a table with them because for them, it's about winning. It's about how can I stack my character. It's about fighting and killing baddies. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to put a whole bunch of work into creating a character just to have them killed within the first this or that.
That player was a definite min-maxer as well. Yeah. Had told the DM, I would like to take a 6 in my intelligence stat so that I can have a +2 ancestral weapon.
Mm-hmm.
That's passed down through my family. Oh yeah, there was a lot of problems with that group, and it's one of the main founding reasons why I have built a community and a world and an entire lifestyle based around making sure that people feel welcome and included and loved at a table.
Okay. Now, are you okay? I know sometimes those type of stories and stuff. Okay. Just wanted to make sure I checked on you.
Thank you for checking in. Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah.
So I think that's a perfect segue.
Because that is a that guy story.
We're not going to get a better segue into that guy. So if you're new to the show, that guy segment is about if you've been in the TTRPG community long enough, you've probably had the misfortune of sitting at a table with someone who is a black hole of fun, someone who, if they were yeeted into the sun, would increase your enjoyment of the experience tenfold. So, honey, do you have a that guy story?
I'm trying to think about my I'm an adult, so I don't have to do what things that I don't want to do mindset. Because that's where I met most of that guys. Because I did hit an age where I was like, if I don't want to be in a situation that makes me uncomfortable, I don't have to be.
Right.
And a lot of times in TTRPG or gaming communities, especially if you're younger or part of a marginalized community or a group of people, you feel like there's a certain level of nonsense that you have to put up with in order to exist. And so you'll say, well, I'll put up with this, because that's just the way it is. I hit an age where I was like, absolutely not. I work a 9 to 5. This is what I do when I get off of work. I'm not going to get off work to get into mess and be disrespected for hours. That's not something I'm going to do. So,
agree.
Prior to that, all of my that guys would fall under the category of being unaware of being preyed upon and taking advantage of. And because I have always been, up until recently, like the youngest person in all of my hobby circles, but at the same grade or the same exposure level to people 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years older than me. As your brain is still developing, as you are that preteen, that teen, and so on, there are just things you do not understand. And there are things and situations that you don't know are bad until you're an adult and you look back. So, what I will say on a that guy topic is that for me, a that guy is anyone who takes advantage of your naivety, anyone that takes advantage of your inexperience, and anyone who takes advantage of the fact that you have a hard time saying no and then gaslights any protests that you may make about it. I can't pinpoint just one person or one situation or this or that because what did me the most harm is not having people willing to speak up for me while I am in these situations. So,
Okay.
how do you avoid being that guy? That if you see it happening to somebody else and you don't say anything, it means that you're okay with it, and more than likely, you do very similar things.
Yeah. I do feel that I have been in some situations and some games where like I have felt thoroughly disrespected in
Mm-hmm.
like in a kind of obvious way, and I'm like, is anybody finna say something?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I just gotta live with this shit. Okay, that I yeah, there is a certain level of anger that I feel
Mm-hmm.
that builds up because it's just like you know
And it's not unjustified anger either.
Correct. Like I said, it's okay to be mad, and you should be mad. But I think in our community, um, I think we're starting to have the important conversations now. But I think the conversations around when people talk about ages and when is it too old or when is it too young to start being part of this. And yes, we're talking about TTRPGs, but then people talk about fan fiction, all the rest of it. I say we're not talking about the core. Like, it's okay to write something about something that you enjoy. It's okay to play with some dice and roll games. But if you're a part of a community of adults doing adult things and nobody is saying anything to protect the people who aren't yet adults, you're part of you're part of that umbrella of that guys. And the only thing you can do is learn better and do better and be the person who speaks up. Because I was exposed to so much, both in the TTRPG and the fiction world. I was exposed to so much at such a young age that as an adult, I had no business being exposed to. And it's not things that I sought out. It was that things, even when they found out my status as a minor or a female or whatever it may be, they're like, well, if you're playing with us, you're playing with us, so we're not going to make any modifications. And nobody ever paused and said, you know what? This isn't right. Or, you know what? I shouldn't be pursuing this person in this way. Or, you know what? I shouldn't be getting this person involved in my real life drama pertaining to my romantic relationships because I've pursued their character in a game. You know what? I shouldn't be asking this person to participate in me actively being unfaithful to my spouse. You know what? I shouldn't be drawing this person who doesn't know any better, who doesn't know what they're being involved in, into this world. Because, well, if they're grown enough to type, if they're grown enough to do this, they're grown enough to see that that's not true. So, again, if you see that guy at your table and you're not the person speaking up, more than likely you have that guy behavior as well. Or you are one of the victims.
I mean I think that you made a point that
I think Honey
holy
just wrote the
shit.
forward to our book.
I think the worst, no, you're right, the worst kind of that guy is the enabler. If you see something wrong and you don't say something, you're part of the problem. If you see somebody being treated in a way that you would not want to be treated and you just go along with it, you're part of the problem. It takes courage to stand up and say something, and that's from everybody. And I mean, yeah, I you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yeah.
And it's not easy. And it's okay for it to be like, well, I'm scared because I'm scared that if I speak up, I'm going to be the next target. Or if I speak up, I'm going to be excluded from this group where I really do enjoy X, Y, and Z. But if you can just peacefully enjoy something while somebody else is being hurt or preyed upon or, marginalized and dismissed, then you really have to take a step back and you really have to do a lot of self reflection. And it's stuff that I've had to do. I'm not exempt from any of these things. I can speak to this because I've been able to see and to do better and to be that voice for the people who cannot speak up for themselves.
Yeah.
Again,
it takes work to get to that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just now at the point. Like, it's very hard to say I'm not going to let myself be treated like this.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes a lot of work. I'm now at the point where it's a little easier for me, but like during it, it's a fucking nightmare. It's just like I don't want to ruin people's fun. I don't want to, I don't want to sink what we have going here. Maybe if I just, suck it up and take it a little bit longer, then maybe things will get better. It's not gonna. It's not. If people will treat you how you let them treat you, and you have to set your standards immediately. And if people can't meet those standards, then you're not in a place you need to be, and you need to get out of that situation. And you really need to take a look at the people that'll let you endure that. So you're absolutely right.
No, that's not exactly probably what you expected for that guy.
No, I loved it. I love that because it's real easy to go. The guy that bit me is a creep. Yeah,
I heard that one. I've heard that. That was like in the back of my mind because of how I am now. Like I believe in the power of no, as in I think no is an affirmative. Like one of my favorite, and yes, it's in Korean, but one of my favorite songs is called No. And the chorus starts with everybody say no. I love that because I have told people that when they come ask me something, like everybody say no. Because no is not always a never. No can be such a self defense, self protection, self love statement. I have turned down a lot of things. I have told people I really don't feel that good about saying this, but I have to say no right now because for my own mental well being or physical well being and so on, I don't have the spoons to take on something else right now. So I have to say no, but it doesn't mean never. It just means right now, this is not for me. Or I get invited to a table, I watch how they play, what their gameplay and flow is, and so on. I know I'm probably not going to fit into that, and I have no desire to try to tell somebody they need to start playing how I like them to, because that's their group, they're doing whatever. I would just politely say no. Because why insert myself into something where it's going to cause drama and I already know it is? Because a lot of people who know me know that I am never going to do something I don't want to do. That's just I'm at that. Like I said, you hit that age where you're like, if I don't want to do this, I don't have to. Like, I don't have to. And it seems so minor, but it's something you have to learn. And if you are a caring person or a person who's very sensitive, artistic, and so on, you have that automatic, I'm going to go along because I would rather not be any issues. And I'll just take, all of the flack and all of the stuff that makes me feel bad about myself. But at least there's not any fights, or at least I haven't caused a problem. Absolutely not. When bills, rent, stress, therapists, all of those expenses start coming out as an adult, things get real clear real quickly that if I don't have to deal with you, your drama today, and I don't want to, I don't have to. So I'm not. And that's how I've avoided a lot of that guys from there on out. Setting a standard for my tables, setting a standard for my panels, setting a standard through example of the type of charity events that I run or how I interact with people and so on. I tell people I can show you better than I can tell you. My brand of wanting to be loving and be a light and cheer people up and everything is not just because I think it will get attention or I'm trying to be nice. No, I'm genuinely endeavoring to show people kindness, which is different than niceness. And that is how I am able to avoid now a lot of fat guys because a fat guy is not going to want to be in a group of people who can spend 20 minutes laughing about a shrubbery.
True. That is true. And I do have to say, like, I think it's more about a certain level of growth rather than it is age. Like I've played with plenty of older people that just don't get it. And like there's a certain level of get it that you got going on that is just it's admirable, and it's a soothing aura. So much respect to you on that, because I mean there's some things that you mentioned that I'm still personally working on. Like it's a reflex to say yes sometimes. Yep. Where it's just like you don't want to let people down. But that no doesn't mean never thing is something that I personally I'm gonna hold on to that after hearing it, and try and adopt that, because that's some good stuff right there.
And you're worth it, Noor. You are 100% worth saying no to things you don't want to do, because you are a light in every space that you were in. And you leave every group, even if people are like, oh my goodness, that was awful, they are still laughing and they are still genuinely happy, because I've been there's joy that you fill people with through all of your antics and your actions, no matter how over the top they may seem, no matter how many times I mentally picture you go picking me a switch. It's not because I'm mad at you as a person. God, I'm gonna pick up a switch. But you are worth it, and I would hesitate to say that the people who actually matter, I'm not talking about the bugaboos and everybody else that really don't deserve your time in the first place. The people who actually matter, their lives are better simply because you exist. So I encourage you to know that if you ever tell someone no for your own well-being, that little moment, because you're always going to feel that I feel kind of bad about that, it's okay, because you are worth it.
Your time is valuable and you are valuable. I co-sign everything Honey just said.
Subject change. So wow, sports, right? Crazy.
You're loved in this space, by the way. Just so you know.
Chicago Bears, they did a thing. Wow.
They did.
Sports.
Sure did. Poor Noir, all embarrassed. Better feel the love right now.
Bah!
You can't escape. Chat's just going off. No. Hearts in chat for Noir, please.
No. Oh, so wow. GameStop. GameStop stock. Bah. Crazy, right? Who would have thought? Money. All right, I see you.
Speaking of bears, you can barely deal with how great you are.
Bah! I hate this. So everybody, don't forget, Critical Business has merch now. Go get that merch money.
Don't change the subject. Diamond Hands, hold GME and love for Noir.
Jesus Christ! Do you prefer fighting us? I think I might.
It's easier for you to handle conflict than for you to handle genuine admiration and emotion. Jay loves you, Dad, bro.
You see what you do when you walk into a room, honey. You turn shit positive and kind.
And now
nice.
It's on the overlay, so that way the chat loving you is going to be on the YouTube VOD forever.
Most of us are not good at accepting compliments. Thank you.
A lot of people deal with conflict easier than compliments.
Just take it. Just take it, Nora. Just take it. It will take a moment for you to process.
Do you know how sweet you have to be able to say the sentence, just take it? And it's not creepy at all.
He's trying to change the topic again. Noir's very existence brings so much light into my life. Getting back Second City Service is the reason I got into this space, and I have found so much joy in my and love in my life because of you. Kelsey is the sweetest, and Kelsey is a fantastic RPer that is just wonderful.
I didn't do anything.
You're welcome.
Nora's trying to distract us from love. So anyway, wow. What do you think about fucking dragons? Dragons are dope, right? Who likes dragons? I've never actually fought a dragon. Well, no, that's a lie. I fought one dragon in my entire TTRPG career.
Just one?
Yeah, just one. Wow, I need to fight more dragons.
That's true.
Not the DMs. You need to do, make it a hashtag. We love Noir.
Yes.
And that way,
so can we get some hashtags We Love Noir in chat, please?
Can we fucking not?
The only dragon to slay here is the one keeping you from accepting the love and support in your life, Noir.
If I come, it's going to be loving, and it's going to be light, and it's going to be laughter, and it's going to be an uplifting experience. You knew this when you invited me.
Most of my merch is about y'all fighting me. I can't make new merch, so I can't do this whole We Love Noir thing.
My only merch is t-shirts that say Love Your You.
I like Noir's pain. Thank you, Alicia. Alicia gets it, and I hate you. Oh, I fight you plenty.
But now we're fighting your self-esteem.
Bah! Self-esteem, okay. I don't know her.
You got another question for me, Noir?
Yes, I do. How much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
It depends on the capacity of that woodchucker's chuck.
The correct answer is all the wood that a woodchuck could if a woodchuck could chuck wood.
I don't feel like saying all that.
All right.
I abbreviated it.
So let me ask you, what is the most frustrating moment you've had as a GM? Y'all would love this stuff. Merch leak. Nah.
Mainly not being like, I have a very gentle presence, as you may notice, and how I present to people and how I DM and everything. I can be firm, I can be like, absolutely no, but I just, in general, respect all my players. I'm very kind. Mm-hmm. I'm not overshouting anyone. I keep a very even tone. I have been in situations where people take advantage of the fact that I do not like confrontation, and will not listen and go off on their own tangents and spend more time with all of their kind of fratty humor, distracted by phones and sharing videos with each other and any and everything but paying attention to what I have just said. And then look to me and say, okay, what was happening again? We're sorry, we're sorry. That gets a little bit frustrating because I don't ever like being in a place when I'm running games for people that comes from any type of anger, frustration, or um, emotions that I'd rather not delve into. So, and I have done stuff like, okay, well, I'm just going to pack up now because apparently nobody wants to play. And it's not sarcasm. I don't do sarcasm with my actions. I will seriously be packing up because if people wanted to play, they would be paying attention. So if they're not paying attention, I'm not going to do this. And I've had to have conversations with a table or two where I said, look, are you all actually interested in playing a campaign, or do you just want an excuse to be able to jump on a chat with each other or show up and eat snacks together for a couple of hours? Because if you're not interested in playing a campaign, I don't have to put all this work into preparing each week to run something for you.
That's, I've had the dreaded cell phone players when I used to play live.
And see, I don't have a problem with usage of phones. There's stuff you can look up, there's calculators and everything. But if I'm talking to you and everyone is in a group chat together showing videos not related to the game at all and laughing together and so on, then it starts to become I'm the joke and you were all in on it. Even if that's not the intention.
No, I can see how it feels that way.
Yeah. I was in the middle of like a exposition and like a kind of a pivotal moment for the characters, and one of my players derailed the entire thing by playing this weird song with like Swiss lumberjacks, and like just I think the look that I gave got one of the players to snap to attention and then like stop it right now. It's like, what's the point? Just pay attention. I'm trying to like run a game here and you literally just derailed an entire like 5 minutes of exposition like for this. It's like, and if you're not invested, why am I here?
Yeah, and there was a question in chat I think is very important for us to know the delineation between these two use case. I'm using business language, but these two different situations. If someone is struggling to pay attention, and I watch all my players very carefully, that is completely different than nobody there actually being engaged with the story or the campaign or the event. If someone is not interested or someone needs to stem in between things and so on, and that's a one-off person, one or two people, and you'll have to repeat to them, I'm always willing to do that because I understand whether it's neural divergency or just they're concerned about family, so they're constantly checking a family group chat or whatever. I'm okay with that. But when it goes into the category of nobody there is actually paying attention to the story, then either they're not interested in it because they're not there to play, or they're not interested in it because the story I'm trying to tell is not something they can be invested in. And I've told this story before. I prepared an entire campaign for a group of people. They weren't doing all the not paying attention, but they just didn't seem into it. So I came back 2 weeks later with a brand new campaign. Started that one. It ended up being one of the best campaigns that I ran. Yeah, doodling is fine.
Oh, yeah.
I had someone that would draw amazing comics during it of what was happening, maybe 20 minutes earlier, but they needed that to stay focused and all those things needed to happen. So don't feel bad if you need to do something to keep yourself engaged because you struggle to pay attention for long periods of time. Everyone has their different challenges, and that's okay because you're not trying to disrespect, dismiss, or take advantage of your other players or your DM. So yeah.
I was just going to say, and I have to tell you, people that draw what's going on in the campaign are fucking miracle workers. I I would kill for fan art. Like that's half the reason I'm in the game, baby.
That's the thing. There's a difference between a player that is um, having a poor time, like, because I have struggles with like attentiveness and like that sort of thing. I've got the stone that Punkle Nix made me, and like if I need to focus in a campaign in a pivotal scene, more often than not, I'll be like, this will be either down here or up here, and I'll be just like making sure that this is something to keep myself busy. But there's a difference between that and a player that is actively disrupting the table, I think. Um,
I think if your distraction has audio, that's when it's a problem.
yeah.
I just, like I say, and one way to avoid fatigue in a group is that I will have sessions like during a holiday week or whatever where we take a break, where everybody will still get together, and I've done things like catered a small Thanksgiving dinner for my players, or ordered some treats and stuff, and they still showed up, and we did some one shots, and played like some one page TTRPGs, and just had such a relaxed time, so that nobody feels like, oh, every week it's this and I'm starting to run out. It gives people that opportunity to kind of take a break. Everybody's still getting together, everybody's having fun and laughing together, and can refresh their mental connection to the campaign and the game and so on, and then go back at night. So yeah, be patient with your players, know what you're seeing, but as a DM, like we talked about, having like self-respect and knowing when you're being disrespected, and that's why I select my players and my tables so carefully. If you just want me there as an excuse to come together at a table and goof off for 2 or 3 hours, I really don't have time for that. Like, so I really don't personally have time for that. I think it's legitimate. I love hanging out with my friends and so on.
Thanks for stopping by, Caldianth.
I love gentle beings. I'm gonna start using that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it's that. Those are the things that will make me a little bit frustrated, and also being at a table with people that are disrespecting other people or trying to use their characters in order to just play out jokes. Okay, he's unconscious, so I strip him of all his clothes. Why?
Why?
Why would you do that?
What do you accomplish?
Because it'll
that?
be funny. He's your party member. What part of that is funny?
Yeah.
So.
I mean, those people know what they're doing too. So.
Yeah.
Like, where's the joke in that?
You don't have to steal his money. Like, he's keeping the party's money. You could just ask him for 50 gold. Now, it's different if you say my character's practicing their stealth, so they want to see if they can take this money out without this or that. Then everybody's in on it. Everybody's laughing. Everybody's kind of like, oh, you completely failed in that role. There's an amusing, role play moment there. Versus, my character's just like this. He's a sneaky, self-centered person. He'll steal from
It's what my character would do.
Yeah. I still remember in the early days of my D&D career, I in my party there was a moment of supreme dickery where the rogue stole the wizard spellbook, essentially nerfing him. And yeah, it was not cool. So
Why do that when you can easily do whipped cream and a feather, or prestidigitate a mustache on their face?
If your character is like that, why are we hanging out or traveling with them? Exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Like in a way that I can, then I'm going to put you on the spot again, Nor. Your character and the character of Cassiopeia in Clockwork Vines. That was an agreed upon antagonistic relationship that never took away from like the advancement of the story or party dynamics, but even added the humor that these two people are having a fight about absolutely nothing in the middle of a battle against a copper serpent. And in the background, you just hear them fighting as everyone, like verbally fighting, as everybody else is trying to fight these roots that are coming out of the ground. And as a DM, I never felt that that was coming across as upstaging or distracting. It just fit so well. And or when both of your characters got drunk, or one would get drunk and the other one wasn't, and you're like cats and dogs kind of response to one another. You know, if it was any other group of players, I would have been concerned. I'd been like, this is whatever. But the constant checking in with each other, the constant, what would be funny, all of that kind of stuff, it worked. And it worked well, and it worked responsibly, and at no time was anyone personally, like as a person, disrespected or felt disrespected. It was all in this good fun.
I'm laughing. Brian's like, I was mixing dangerous chemicals during that fight with this distracting argument. My character was
exactly. And then everybody would just be like, what is going on? Like, why?
Hashtag battleship.
So
everybody was fucking frustrated with those two.
But like I said, it worked.
It worked.
In all fairness, nobody was truly respecting the fact that I was a published author, and that was what was upsetting me as a character. I felt like I was not getting the respect that I deserved as a New York Times bestseller. So, just putting that out there.
Cal really respected and appreciated you.
I felt like, grandma needed to respect that, and she was too busy threatening me with a shotgun and a belt and a shoe. This is why you don't bring your GMs on your talk show, because you get looks like that.
I just know we have a season 2, and y'all are staying at her house.
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Wasn't Ryan saying somewhere in chat earlier that you were asking for the shoe?
I wasn't asking for shit. I was asking for the respect that a published New York Times best-selling writer should get.
And she gave you all of that respect. But with respect comes accountability.
I don't like that part. I mean, have you never
run a campaign for you?
Have you never once read Spider-Man with great power?
I see what you left off there. That explains so much.
Really does. Really does.
What? That's the quote. With great power,
there must also come great responsibility.
I stopped reading after with great power.
That's not even a complete sentence, though.
Yes, I do shit with great power. That's how it's supposed to be read. I web swing with great power. I punch people with great power.
This is why Noir is Ben Riley.
Noir is Miles Morales, and I'm not here for this Ben Riley shit.
Well, that's an interesting thing that you just said. With great power, I do X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think about, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Whether you say it verbally or not, there's a second half to that sentence.
Yeah. I do this with great power, period. And then it's dope. That's the second half.
You ain't chill
enough for Miles. You know what? I'm chill enough not to give a fuck what you think. and I'm on the Critical Misses channel, so you can't hurt me here. You can't do anything to me,
Now,
Alicia.
this is the place where everybody reminds Noor how much he's loved.
Yes.
Hey, whoa, hey,
so
time
can we get
out,
some
knock it
hashtag
off.
We love
Hey,
more in chats,
you know
please.
what?
Some
We're just
hearts.
about at 3 hours. I think we should get one last question here. We should wrap it up. So it's been lovely having you here, honey. Let's see, what do you have? What projects do you have coming in the future that you are most excited for?
I have got some names and some emails for a couple of beta testers, screen reader beta testers specifically for a project that I'm really excited about unfolding in February. Tea with Honey should be coming back. I just need to make sure I hire a. It's always been about the finances here, but hire someone that can do transcription since they are podcasts and not visual interviews, so it's not like we can use captions. One thing that really bothered me about last year about Tea with Honey is that people seemed to really like it, but there were no transcripts of the particular episodes, and I don't have the skill to do transcription myself. So before I start unrolling,
please send Honey your rates.
Who's your kid actually had to leave because he has a shoot to do.
Okay.
But when I am ready to get that done, I want to get some interviews done and then be able to give that person time to get those transcriptions done so that when the episode comes out, it comes out with the transcript. So I do have plans to do more Tea with Honey episodes. I just want to make sure I have that in place before I move forward.
Perfect.
So who you interviewing?
I have quite a few people, and you will find out. How I handle that, because again, they're very short, but I have a 9 to 5, so the time I have to actually interview people is limited. So
I feel that.
y'all will eventually be on there.
Probably.
I just have.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? I do have a question for you because I want to know what the hell is your relationship with Brittany Lee Mulligan? What is that? What? Explain this to me.
Until I did the interview, I'm pretty sure Brittany Lee Mulligan had no idea who I was. But the running joke is every Dimension 20 side quest that has taken place, the setting and like the overall theme has been something I have in my personal planning notebook consistently, from the candy to the reverse Lord of the Rings to the just all of them, like from the New York, like the modern time one where it's a city. I had something very similar to the everybody being small and toys, all of that. Okay, all those similar themes I have written in my own planned campaign stuff before things would be revealed. So I had the running joke that Brittany Lee Mulligan must be my warlock patron because I keep getting all of these things. And that's even like the Pirates of the Lion thing kind of thing. So like I was just sitting there going, it started as a joke way back when. I'd be like, well, Brittany Lee Mulligan is my warlock patron. And then I did the interview for with him, and that was really engaging. Like my first, like when you meet someone that you respect so much, some of my first words to him when he said, "How are you?" was, "I don't know," because I had just consumed some coffee that I was convinced that I could see sound. It was so strong. I get like a couple of sips, and I said, "I'm not sure because I've just drank some coffee and I think I can see sound." And he was laughing. But that's what it is.
How did that come about? Like,
I don't know. I just got reached out to and said, "Hey, would you like to be on an episode of this?" I was like, "Sure." That's how it happened.
That's so awesome. Like I've seen like a couple of interactions with the Warlock patron thing, and I was just like, this is weird. Like it was so random.
Yeah, and the best part of that is that Warlock is like my least favorite class ever. So I said, but if I ever played a warlock, I would definitely make it so that an entity similar to Brennan Lee Mulligan is actually the patron. I would
You
do
heard.
that.
You heard it here, folks. Me and Honey both agree that warlocks are trash.
I don't like spellcasters in general.
No, that's okay. We just gonna make that official. We gonna make that a
No.
thing.
I can't keep. It's too much to keep up with. But somehow I always end up with
Well, all two
spellcasters.
spells that warlocks get.
I mean, spellcasters. Period. Like for me, it's stressful, but I always end up playing some type of spellcaster. So I just I love fighters. I love simple stuff. I don't. That's how you end up with Bisquelia Honeysuckle, aka biscuits, because
Hey, you get 3 eventually. Warlocks are trash. Fight me. Fight me and Honey. we're tag teaming it.
no, don't bring me. Don't,
Leave
don't
Honey
bring
out of
me.
this.
Me and Honey are telling everybody in the TTRPG community that warlocks are trash. And if you got a problem about it, come hop in my DMs or Honey's DMs. I'm just kidding. Don't.
No. Be kind.
So now that I've officially flipped the chat
Back
from being
against you.
all lovey-dovey to being back against me, I think that
Hashtag we love Nora chat.
I think that we can wrap this up.
Use that as a shield. Honey is only 5 foot tall, so I make a horrible shield.
I'm only 5'5", so I just need to dug down a little bit.
I also make a horrible shield because I know how to get out the way.
Oh, see, that makes things harder for me.
Exactly. And may or may not have martial arts training and training in other sorts of self-defense things. So that's
Well, hold on.
I appreciate that.
yeah. But yeah, projects I'm excited about. That's mainly is in March. I'll probably be doing a lot more games and stuff again. Try to get the Harlem Unbound. Try to get Clockwork Vines, and get that kind of started. I've gotten some invitations to some other stuff, but I really have to pace things right now because we're all dealing with the reality of pandemic world and finances and timing and everything. So I try to live a pretty balanced life. And I just been working on that. I've got my merch that's finally up now for the Love Your You, and 100% of the proceeds from the t-shirt sales goes towards a fund that I'm saving up to do care packages for shelters,
Nice.
domestic abuse shelters. The dice came out yesterday, the honey dice. You can go to Die Hard Die and see those. They're gorgeous. But yeah, that's about it.
Do we have a link to your merch? I want to make sure that we give everybody a chance to help support. Love Their You.
I didn't give a link to my merch because I also have challenges with getting attention.
I know. I feel that like I'm the worst at this kind of stuff myself. So that's. Let's see. I'm
but
trying to
it's
find you.
Like my pin.
Oh, I found you.
Yeah.
Look at that. Oh, designs by human. That's dope. And everybody, go show some love. Pick up the Love Your You. That's a beautiful design, by the way.
I'm very happy with it. I struggled with that for about 3 or 4 months trying to make it perfect, and I designed it. But I'm glad that it turned out how it did. There's a white on black option and a black on white option.
Mm-hmm. I'm putting both of them on there. Personally, I love the white on black. That's adorable.
And in those drop downs, just because it's a little bit confusing on that website, there's other things. There's other cuts of t-shirts, and there's sweatshirts and so on. My recommendation is wait until there's a sale on Design by Humans to get anything above that, because stuff is... Anyways, but on the white and black, no, on the black on white one, There is a coffee cup option on the one that has the white base with the black. So if you do want a teacup that says "Love Your You" and you don't want like a T-shirt, that's where that one is.
Nice. Honey, thank you so much for joining us. This has been lovely chatting with you. It's been so chill and nice most of the time.
Most of the time. Wow, do you hear that sub attack? Most
that
of the
wasn't a
time.
sub.
Oh, okay, wow. Damn. Do you see that direct attack on me?
Mhm.
This
But
is
it's not
this
an
is my
attack. It's all the perspective.
It's true.
oh,
Sometimes it's not an attack. Sometimes it's just straight facts.
And sometimes it's just the truth from my perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what y'all doing right now, but I don't like it. I feel like there's some voodoo happening here that's trying to quell my anger, and it's just making me madder.
You're just being mad on principle.
I'm always mad, Cap. I fucked up the quote.
But yeah. Honey, where can we find you most times?
I'm most active on Twitter. Again, I have something that will be rolling out in February that will have some more ways of engagement and so on. So I'm super excited. But again, it takes me a minute to roll things out because I like to do it the most accessible way possible. So I
Nice.
have some more testing I want there done before I release it. Twitter at Honey and Dice, Twitch at Honey and Dice. Soon I'm gonna open up the YouTube so that all of the videos from Honey Bunches of Hope from our charity stream in December, if you didn't get to watch them, hopefully next week or the week coming up, I will be sharing the YouTube links to all of those panels and games. And in the future, anything that's run on my channel, I'll be able to put over to that YouTube. Instagram at Honey and Dice, but there's nothing there. I have like a lifestyle, wellness, fashion Instagram that's not Honey and Dice. It's love if you want it. Just DM me and I will share that with you. But yeah, that's really mostly it's Twitter. I talk about gaming, I talk about music, I talk about fashion, I talk about my struggles with Korean. Because you would think Japanese, Spanish, English, Elvish.
Wait, hold
Why
on.
would
You
I
speak
actually-
Elvish?
I used to speak it a lot more, but I studied. I had a rap where I said I learned English. I learned Elvish online for the heck of it. I had a whole like thing back in the day when Lord of the Rings was the hot
'Cause-
thing.
I hate to interrupt. There's this guy on TikTok that's like, I didn't know people actually spoke it.
Yeah.
And him and his buddies are going to like learn it. And I'm like, I'm trying to make it a thing where black people learn Elvish and we just take it.
Well, we already have Pig Latin. Why do we need Elvish?
Like, look, no. Look, if we as a race are gonna take language, I don't want it to be Pig Latin.
No, I don't think that's our language. I'm just saying I already had to struggle to learn Pig Latin because I thought my adults around me were glitching. Like for a minute when I was a child, I was like, I know what that word is, but why are they speaking backwards? But if you do want to learn Elvish, it's not that hard, and I encourage it. It's very amazing to see the work that somebody did to put into a fictional language. So go check it out.
Yeah,
Um,
I may hit you up every now and then to be like, is this right?
I am beyond that. I'm beyond my.
You're
I
like,
know everything
get the
about
fuck
Lord
out of
the
my
Rings.
DMs with that weird shit. All right, sorry, keep going on your outro.
That is my outro. I will encourage everyone, as I always do, to love your you. And if that's hard today for whatever reason, that's okay. Because it's okay to not be okay. And it is okay to be okay. Surround yourself by people who not only celebrate your successes, but support you through your challenges. And if the people show up to say yay, but do not show up when you're fighting through a nay, those are not your friends. So love your you. And if you can't that today, just know that I love you. Be kind, be caring, be compassionate, and most of all, be the only thing that is completely unique to you. Be you.
Oh,
So sweet.
that's wonderful.
Like, I don't want to follow that up because I'm not gonna say anything near that nice. Okay, so you should go next. I should go last.
Okay, I'll go next. Hi, I'm Anita, and this is the Critical Miss channel, the channel that I founded. So you can find me here most times on Tuesdays for Second City Saviors, which is the Masks game that Noir runs, on Wednesdays for Under the Pale Cold Sun, which is our Vampire the Masquerade 5e Chronicle. Thursdays and Fridays I work tech behind the scenes for Upon These Crystals, Guardians Ready, Cypher System Sentai, and Beyond the Twilight Road, which is our Zyhander game. And then on Sundays, you can find me over on Kobold Press's channel for Into the Southlands, which is the Southlands campaign just finished up on Kobold Press, and Nora's running a game where I play a bird artificer who is the sweetest bean and cares about her friends and uses the grease spell maybe a little bit too much. That's me. You can also find me on Noir's channel for when Lonely Throne, now Kingsguard, picks back up. And that's an official Roll20 Spotlight show now.
Woo!
We can announce that. But yeah, that's where you can find me. And this is Ash.
Wow. And where can we find Ash?
You can find Ash here, most times yelling at me, and then hopping up and harassing me.
All right. Well, I guess that makes it my turn.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, I'm Noir. You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Instagram now as The Noir Enigma. You can find me on TikTok as Noir Enigma. Right now, I've actually given myself a project that I probably shouldn't, but I want to do it for no other reason than I want to, which is I've always been curious as to what bard incantations of spells would sound like. So I am going to write 15 to 30 second songs with incantations for every bard spell on the bard spell list, because why not? Let's do it. I do have an announcement that's coming out Monday that's pretty exciting, so be on the lookout there, because there's a new show that I'm going to be in that I'm super duper excited for. On Tuesdays, you can find me over on LFM Network for Degrees of Madness. It's me and the team from Perception Studios playing Call of Cthulhu. So it's me and a bunch of puppets playing Call of Cthulhu. I'm the only human player. It's just me, the GM, and two puppets, and really amazing guests. So I highly recommend that you check it out. It's a good time. Then on Tuesday evenings, you can find me you can find me right here, where I GM Magpie's mass game for my campaign, Second City Saviors. Then on Wednesday, you can find me over on Black Cats Gaming, where I am in a campaign called Hex Protocol that uses the spy game system, and we're playing with the creator, Sam Webby. I play a spy named Oppenheimer, who is a demolition expert, so you can pretty much imagine how that goes. Then on Wednesday evenings, you can find me over on a TPK Roleplay, where I am in a Curse of Strahd game. Then on Thursdays, you can find me over on Unmade Gaming, where I am in an Expanse game called Entailment with Nomadic. And it's a very good time. Then on Fridays, you can catch me over on Chromatic Chimera, where I play in a Zyhander game called Bloody Portrait. On Saturday mornings, you can find me right back here on Critical Misses. And our guest for next week is going to be, it's going to be Gloss of Glamour. So please check that out, because it's going to be amazing. Then on Sundays, you can catch me on Cobalt Press's channel, where I am GMing their Into the Southlands game. They just finished their Southlands Kickstarter, and I am running it. Then you can catch me on Sunday evenings over on Action Fiction, where I'm in a Vampire the Masquerade game called Drain the Rich. And then on Monday, Well, you'll find out what I do when the announcement comes out. And then sometimes I might even sleep. That's me.
All right, everyone. We're going to go on a raid. Who is online that we can raid? I see there's that grandma. What's going on, honey? You all right?
Mm-hmm. You just took us through every day of the week.
Yes.
He doesn't
I
seem
work-
Back again.
I don't sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. We can always go ahead and raid Raven.
Sure. Can you give me the username for that? Is it,
I just put it in chat. Take away the plus though, because I did that because my fingers are fat.
All right, so we are going to go raid Raven. We're going to go spread some love over there. And we will all talk to you again very, very soon. We'll talk to you next week. But until then, thank you all so much for stopping by and hanging out. And Honey, thank you for stopping by and chatting with us. It was absolutely amazing. And until next time, the ritual...
Hold on, one last thing.
Huh?
Liam O'Brien is hands on sight for you. If I ever see you in the streets, I'm messing you up. Let's go. That's it.
Translation: he really appreciates the work that you do, and he would like to have a serious conversation about some decisions you made in the fictional world.
There we
It's
go.
on sight.
Until next time, the ritual has concluded. Bye, everybody.